Chapter 5398. It was targeting Lin Wuti again. Countless people were shocked because they knew that the relationship between Yen Ruyu and Lin Wuti wasn't ordinary. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. He had eliminated too many envoys from Mount Eternal. He had long become enemies with the second envoy. He wouldn't stop even if he threatened them. He could only look at Yen Ruyu and say, "You must be careful." Yen Ruyu nodded her head and walked over. Although she was a proud daughter of heaven, she was facing a great enemy at this moment. She couldn't help it. The power of the second envoy was too terrifying. It had the power to destroy everything. She formed a seal with her palms and many illusions of green lotuses revolved around her. Kill. The second envoy was furious. He let out a long roar and walked forward. He waved his arms and punched continuously. The surrounding void collapsed and the earth cracked. Indestructible fist. Terrifying, incomparably resplendent indestructible intent swept in all directions. Everyone was worried for Yen Ruyu, because the second envoy was much stronger than the third envoy. At the same time, they were shocked. How terrifying was the first envoy who hadn't made a move until now? Yen Ruyu also felt a huge pressure. She formed a seal and the green lotuses around her bloomed rapidly. It was as if the world was splitting apart. A terrifying aura swept out to resist the surrounding fists. The collision between the two was like millions of mountains bombarding each other. It was extremely terrifying. Buzz. Suddenly, the thousands of fists of the other party merged into one and formed a black stream of light. This attack was truly too terrifying, causing the lotuses around Yen Ruyu to split apart. The entire universe was shattering. Yen Ruyu also spat out blood and was sent flying. The surrounding people were also shocked when they saw this scene. Was Yen Ruyu injured? The people of the Divine Union outside were also in an uproar. This was too unbelievable. One had to know that Yen Ruyu's strength was also very terrifying, especially the green lotuses used by the other party. It was even more terrifying. However, she was still injured by a punch. How terrifying was the second envoy's fist. Looking at this scene, the surrounding people gasped and felt their scalps go numb. One had to know that this was only the second envoy. There was still the first envoy. Could it be that the champion of this battle would be the #1 emissary? The experts on the stairway to heaven were also shocked. Lin Xian's face immediately darkened. Extremely cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. Ruwu was actually injured. How hateful. He stared at the second emissary. The second envoy also turned his head to look at Lin Xian as he coldly laughed. "Brat, are you regretting it now? You will die without a doubt. No one in the world can save you." Lin Xian's voice was incomparably cold. "You want to kill me? Ah." The second emissary raised his head and laughed. "Cultivate for another 1,000 years. You're no match for me. I'll send your woman to hell first." As he spoke, he turned his head and stared at Yen Ruyu. With a roar he shouted, "Don't kill me." The law continued to expand, as if it had turned into an indestructible heavenly saber. He clasped his hands together. It slashed straight ahead. Yen Ruyu's white clothes were dyed with blood, hiding her poignant beauty. In her eyes, stars were also disillusioned. With a wave of her jade-like hand, the blood that dripped down started to spin. Then, it formed a blood-colored lotus, blooming continuously, forming a blood-colored canopy in the sky. A blood sword descended from within, colliding with the opponent's heavenly saber. Monstrous laws swept across the sky, and a huge crack appeared once again. The collision of the two was shocking. This Yen Ruyu was also incredible. She could even turn the blood of an injured person into a peerless divine ability. She was truly a god. Seeing that his attack was blocked, the second emissary roared to the sky. Hateful. He originally thought that he could deal with this move. Who would have thought that the opponent actually had another move? Although Yen Ruyu was injured, her expression became colder and colder. She kept waving the blood sword in the sky, mercilessly descending. Every strike carried the illusion of a lotus, which was abnormally terrifying. The blood sword was less horizontal, carrying a biting cold killing intent. The second emissary was really angry. He roared to the sky. With a flip of his hand, a black cauldron appeared in his hand, spinning non-stop. The black cauldron shook lightly, shattering heaven and earth. Those blood swords also kept shattering. The surrounding people were shocked. Weapons appeared. They knew that every emissary had a weapon in their hands, and they were all different. Who would have thought that the second emissary would have a cauldron in his hand? A cauldron had an extraordinary meaning. Anything that was made with a cauldron was an extremely terrifying existence. For example, the Yi family's celestial emperor cauldron. Of course, this cauldron was not an extreme weapon, but it was still an extremely terrifying weapon. They wondered how Yen Ryu would fight against it. They knew that Yen Ryu had taken out an extreme weapon before. But now that they were in the extreme Dao world, she could not use her extreme weapon at all. Without an extreme weapon, could Yen Ryu fight against this black cauldron? This was the indestructible cauldron. The second emissary held the black cauldron with a cold expression. Everything could end now. For him to take out a weapon, it meant that he was completely serious. Those blood swords were all swallowed by his cauldron, turning into blood. They kept on attacking, letting out rumbling sounds. But they still could not escape. Yen Ryu also waved her jade-like hand, and a green lotus appeared in her hand. She kept swaying it. It was like a weapon. With a light wave, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. The two of them clashed again. Terrifying power erupted once again, shaking the heavens and the earth. Heavens, 100 moves had passed. Countless people exclaimed. The people of Mount Eternal also had extremely ugly expressions. In their opinion, they could finish off their opponent with one move, but the last 10 moves were not enough. But when they took out the indestructible cauldron, they all laughed. Because they knew that the battle would end soon. But now another 100 moves had passed. The second emissary was completely furious. He slapped the indestructible cauldron with his palm. Endless and mysterious runes erupted on the indestructible cauldron. At this moment, a black palm seemed to have appeared there, holding the indestructible cauldron. That palm was engraved at the bottom of the indestructible cauldron. It could not be seen clearly before. It was only now that it was revealed. What kind of palm was this? It was too mysterious and abnormally ancient, with a prehistoric aura. Not good, Ryu, retreat quickly. When this aura erupted, everyone felt their hair stand on end. Even the Fire Qilin and the others had a drastic change in expression. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. This power was too strong, and it was very strange. This power did not even belong to the second emissary, so Yen Ryu could not block it. He hurriedly reminded her. Yen Ryu's expression also changed. Her figure degenerated into green lightning, shuttling back and forth. Chapter 5399. The mysterious palm, along with the indestructible cauldron, quickly pressed down. It made heaven and earth dim. This attack was too terrifying. Although Yen Ryu tried her best to block it, the lotus in front of her kept shattering. She spat out a mouthful of blood. In the end, she had no choice but to crush the protective jade pendant. She turned into white light and disappeared. Did she fail? Countless people exclaimed. They didn't expect such a proud girl to be defeated. Lin Xian frowned. Ryu was actually eliminated. A trace of killing intent appeared in his eyes. He stared at the second emissary. He wouldn't let him go. The second emissary sneered. If it weren't for the protective jade pendant, you would have died this time. After saying that, he turned to stare at Lin Xian. Kid, don't look at me with such a murderous gaze, because the next one to be eliminated will be you. An extremely cold light bloomed in his eyes. However, he didn't make a move. Although he won the battle with Yen Ryu, he also used his trump card. The indestructible cauldron and the mysterious hand were very terrifying. He had consumed a lot of energy, so it wasn't suitable for him to fight now. Instead, he turned around and returned to the stairway to rest. As soon as he returned, someone stood out. This person walked over from the second emissary's side. Everyone was surprised. Did someone make a move again? Who was this person? They turned around and found that this person looked extremely ordinary. Even the second emissary was frowning. This person was on the same stairway as him. They belonged to the 9th stairway. He had met this ordinary-looking person before, but at that time, the other party was very fast and disappeared in an instant. He didn't have the chance to make a move. Was this person going to make a move again? Let's see what kind of strength you have to stand side by side with me. The others were also discussing. Lin Xian was stunned when he saw the other party. He was really too surprised. He didn't expect to meet an acquaintance here. And it was an acquaintance he met a long time ago. My name is Chao Tiansheng. Who wants to fight with me? The ordinary-looking person in front walked out. He looked around and said indifferently. That's right. Chao Tiansheng was the person Lin Xian met in the second star region. At that time, the other party was a top genius of the Limitless sect, which made Lin Xian feel mysterious. Later on, this person disappeared. He didn't expect to meet him here. Furthermore, the other party was actually able to charge into the finals. One could imagine how terrifying the other party's strength was. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He had previously thought that Chao Tiansheng was very mysterious, but he didn't know the other party's background. Perhaps he would be able to see some of his opponent's strength through this battle. Chao Tiansheng's voice fell, but no one responded to the challenge. After all, they didn't know much about Chao Tiansheng. He looked quite ordinary and didn't give off any terrifying aura. But no one dared to underestimate him. The light-shaking realm cultivators were still wearing plain clothes, but killing intent was as easy as chopping vegetables for them. As such, it was impossible to judge a person by their appearance here. Who wants to fight me? Chao Tiansheng spoke again. At the same time, he looked over. When he saw Lin Xian nodded. Chao Tiansheng also nodded in response. This surprised everyone. Could it be that this person knew Lin Wuti? Killing intent instantly appeared in the second envoy's eyes. Was this Lin Wuti's friend again? Damn it, if he had known this would happen, he would have eliminated the other party earlier. However, he wasn't in a hurry. There would be plenty of opportunities in the future. As long as he made a move, he would definitely send the other party to hell. The Fire Qilin also coldly harumphed. No one accepted the challenge. You'd better scram. The other people also discussed spiritedly. They also wanted to see a joke. Chao Tiansheng, however, turned his head and stared at the Fire Qilin. Do you dare to fight me? Everyone was in an uproar. They thought that Chao Tiansheng would go back, but they didn't expect him to actually challenge him. Moreover, he was challenging the Fire Qilin. Heavens, the Fire Qilin was the son of a great emperor. The Double Crown King had a terrifying bloodline and divine ability. He cultivated a great emperor's inheritance. Not many people dared to challenge him. But the other party actually dared to challenge the Fire Qilin. This was too unbelievable. The Fire Qilin's expression also sank. Do you want to die? I challenge you. Do you dare to fight me? Mr. Chao spoke again. The Fire Qilin's expression was cold. You want to die? I'll fulfill your wish. He couldn't refuse. Not only were there top-notch geniuses watching, but there were also countless clans and sects watching outside. Could he not fight? If he didn't fight, he would lose all his face. Although the person in front of him was mysterious, he didn't take it to heart. I'll take care of you in 3 moves. The Fire Qilin walked out with great confidence. The surrounding people were also shocked. There was a good show to watch. After the Fire Qilin came out, he clapped his hands. The sky was filled with flames, and the world dimmed. The terrifying flames flew over, illuminating the 9 heavens, and directly enveloping Chao Tiansheng. They didn't know how this guy was going to block it. Countless people looked at him and discussed. After all, not many people had seen him fight. Maybe this guy was just bluffing and didn't have any real skills. Boom. Intense rumbling sounds rang out, shattering everything. Everyone cried out in alarm. That guy should have been killed, right? However, when all the flames disappeared, they saw Chao Tiansheng walking out. He was unharmed. Damn it. What's going on? How did this guy do it? Exclamations rang out one after another. The people outside the extreme path world were also stunned. What kind of divine ability did he use? The experts from the Fire Qilin cave also frowned. They felt that the Fire Qilin had met a peerless enemy. Chao Tiansheng stepped on the flames and extinguished them. He said in a deep voice, "You're not strong enough. Show me your real skills." Damn it. How dare you look down on me? A cold light appeared in the Fire Qilin's eyes. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. He waved his hand, and a Qilin phantom rushed out. The Qilin was lifelike, And the scene was shocking. The entire sky was completely drowned. There were terrifying rays of light everywhere. At this moment, they were enough to kill all the experts. Boom. Chao Tiansheng also made his move. He threw out a punch. With a bang, the Qilin was knocked to the ground. The flames in the sky shook and swept in all directions. Everyone was stunned. This punch was too powerful. God, what kind of physique did he have? Could it be that he also had a divine body in the universe? Lin Wudi's nine-yang divine body, Khanate Taoism aptitude, and chaotic body. The Yi family's sacred body. These were all famous physiques in the universe. They were enough to sweep through everything. Could it be that Chao Tiansheng also had such a powerful physique? For a moment, countless people were shocked. Another divine body was about to appear out of nowhere. However, Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. That was not the case. He realized that Chao Tiansheng didn't have such a powerful physique. There was another reason why the other party could easily overturn the Qilin's flames. Chapter 5400. Lin Xian was really surprised. He had a guess, but he didn't know if it was right. Because just now he didn't use his Rinnegan. In the next moment, the light of reincarnation in his right eye was activated. Lin Xian was ready to watch the battle with all his might. Fire Qilin was also surprised that the other party blocked his attack. Damn it, no matter what kind of physique you have, you can't compete with me. As the Imperial Prince, although he didn't have the legendary physique in the starry sky, his bloodline was extremely powerful at that time. He charged out again. His palms formed a seal, and monstrous flames formed a terrifying firestorm. The firestorm swept toward him, and at the same time, Fire Qilin also moved. Qilin trampling the sky. He stomped his foot, shattering the sky. This was the Great Emperor's ultimate technique, and it was very terrifying. With one stomp, he could turn a divine ancestor into ashes. At this moment, he directly stomped on Chao Tiansheng. Everyone became nervous again. When the Great Emperor's divine ability was used, its power was much stronger than before. Would Chao Tiansheng be able to resist it? Chao Tiansheng's expression didn't change, and he also punched out. With a loud bang, a sky-shaking sound rang out. He actually blocked the Qilin trample. Countless people went crazy. This Chao Tiansheng really had a body. What was going on with him? These people began to discuss, but they didn't feel any terrifying aura. What kind of physique did he have? These people went crazy. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. As expected, he was also shocked. It seemed that this was Chao Tiansheng's real trump card. Previously, when he was in the second star region, he met Chao Tiansheng. At that time, Chao Tiansheng hadn't used such a terrifying ultimate technique. He didn't know what Chao Tiansheng had experienced during this period of time, but one could imagine how terrifying Chao Tiansheng was now. Just now, through his Rinnegan, Lin Xian saw clearly that Chao Tiansheng didn't resist with his powerful physique. Instead, he punched tens of thousands of times in an instant. One had to know that at their level, they could attack many times in an instant. It was easy. In fact, Lin Xian could also release tens of thousands of sword shadows in an instant. In the blink of an eye, countless powerhouses could be turned into ashes. But this was completely different from Chao Tiansheng. Tens of thousands of sword shadows shot out in an instant, but the crowd could still distinguish and see. But now no one could tell that Chao Tiansheng had punched out 30,000 times. Everyone thought that the other party had only used one punch. What did this mean? This meant that his opponent's speed was truly extremely fast. Those tens of thousands of fists turned into a single punch. Even the sound of the punch was no different. What kind of speed was this? Lin Xian had never seen the others before, so he probably hadn't seen them either. The Fire Qilin was furious. Damn it, Qilin tramples the heavens. The second step came over again, and what he used was the seventh step of the Qilin trampling the heavens. Under 7 steps, heaven and earth would shatter. Nothing could stop him. The power of the second step was even more terrifying than before. There was another deafening clang as Chao Tiansheng blocked his fist with another punch. Its power seemed to be increasing as well. On the third step, the fourth step, and the fifth step, the Fire Qilin was suddenly sent flying. How could Chao Tiansheng's strength be so terrifying? Why do I feel that it's not any weaker than the nine-yang divine body? It was close to the primal chaos body. Could it be that he also had one of the top 10 divine physiques in the universe? Everyone was going crazy. The born Taoism aptitude also burst out with a cold light in his eyes. Because it was one of the top 10 physiques in the universe. Now another physique that was as famous as it had appeared? But why hadn't he heard of it before? The people outside were also in an uproar. The powerhouses of the Fire Qilin cave were all stunned. Damn it, what was going on? The people of the other emperor clans were also discussing animatedly. The face of the emissary of Mount Eternal also darkened. It was him. How could it be? He shouldn't have. He stared straight ahead. On the heaven stairway, the first emissary also turned around. This time his expression became incomparably solemn. He stared at Chao Tianxing and said in a deep voice, "Just now you punched 1,000,000 times. Didn't you?" "What?" The others were stunned. 1,000,000 times. What kind of joke was this? There was only one group just now. Lin Xian was also surprised. He took a look at the first time. This person was very extraordinary. He actually saw through this at a glance. Indeed, Lin Xian's Rinnegan had just captured 1,000,000 fists in an instant. It made those top experts think that it was a single punch. After hearing this, the Fire Qilin was also stunned. 1,000,000 fists? His feet still hurt a little. He couldn't even use his strength. To be honest, he didn't understand whether it was a single punch or 1,000,000 fists. Chao Tianxing looked at the first emissary of Mount Eternal and narrowed his eyes. He said, "As expected of someone from Mount Eternal, it seems that you should know my origin." As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned. The second emissary also asked, "Boss, who is he? What's his origin? What kind of body is it?" The first emissary took a deep breath. "It seems that I was right." He looked at the second emissary and said coldly, "He didn't have a divine body, nor did he have infinite strength." The first emissary was stunned. The others were even more puzzled. What was going on? The first emissary snorted coldly. "Stupid. I just said that he doesn't have a divine body. His punch isn't as powerful as the nine-yang divine body, or the born Taoism aptitude. But not a single punch. 10,000 punches. 100,000 punches. 1,000,000 fists. If these fists were thrown out in an instant, and you top experts couldn't tell them apart, how terrifying would the power be? The second emissary was dumbfounded. He had really thrown out 10,000 fists in an instant just now. He was stunned. With his strength he couldn't tell. The others were even more in an uproar. Impossible, this was absolutely impossible. With our strength, can't we tell 10,000 fists apart? Not to mention 1,000,000 fists, even tens of millions of fists. He threw out those fists in an instant, and we could all clearly distinguish them. They were all doubtful. The first emissary sneered. "What do you bunch of trash know?" Those people were angry. "Trash, you dare to call me trash?" Mars also snorted coldly. He was a dignified emperor who laughed at the world. Now he was actually being looked down upon. However, he was indeed puzzled now. He said coldly, "Then tell me, where did he come from?" The first emissary stared at him. Chao Tianxing said coldly. He didn't expect that there was still someone alive from the legendary Light Clan who had disappeared. The Light Clan. Everyone was stunned. Even Lin Xian was puzzled. He seemed to have met someone from the Light Clan before. However, the first emissary snorted coldly. Which ones weren't considered the real Light Clan? The real Light Clan was so fast that no one could compare to them. In fact, they were almost there. Parallel to time, they could travel through time. They could go to the past with their speed. Nothing could stop them from going to the future. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. They were so fast that they could ignore time. They could go to the past with a flash and travel through the future. God, this is impossible. They roared crazily. Even the great emperors couldn't do it. The first emissary snorted coldly. The great emperors couldn't do it? Do you know the strength of the great emperors? You've only heard of some legends. No one knows how terrifying the great emperors are without reaching that level. Chapter 5401. Traveling Through Time. Countless people were shocked. How terrifying was this speed? Even Lin Xian was stunned. Was this the real Light Clan? The people from the Emperor clan outside. After receiving the news, they were also shocked. Light Clan, what an ancient name. The real Light Clan should have been destroyed back then, but there were still people alive. Could it be that he had traveled through time and space, and hid in the torrent of time? Someone frowned. But no matter what, Chao Tianxing was a member of the Light Clan. When this identity was revealed, everyone was stunned. Especially after seeing the other party's strength, they were even more shocked. Fire Qilin's expression was cold. So you're a member of the Light Clan. But so what? A clan that was no longer around. You alone can't cause any trouble? I'll eliminate you today. Your Light Clan has become history, so don't come out again. Fire Qilin roared angrily. Qilin technique. He roared towards the sky and transformed into a Qilin. The terrifying Qilin flew out. This sound shook heaven and earth. The scalps of the surrounding people went numb. They exclaimed softly. Quickly seal off their hearing. This sound could directly make their ears bleed. One after another, the powerhouses sealed their hearing. However, Chao Tianxing was still not afraid. Since he had already revealed his identity as a member of the Light Clan, there was nothing to hide. He stood there and didn't seem to dodge. However, the truth was that he was moving at high speed. Because his speed was so fast that his afterimage hadn't disappeared yet. He appeared again. Therefore, everyone saw that he didn't move, but in fact he was dodging these sounds at high speed. Everyone looked at this scene, and was extremely shocked. This was the young master's speed. It was too fast. So fast that they couldn't tell at all. After the sound disappeared, Fire Qilin's expression became extremely ugly. He realized that this was useless against the other party. Chao Tianxing said, "As the descendant of the great emperor, is this all you have? Show me all your earth divine powers. Otherwise you won't have a chance if I attack." His voice wasn't that boring, but it was extremely domineering. This meant that his strength was above Fire Qilin. Fire Qilin was completely furious after hearing this. "Damn it, how dare you underestimate me?" Qilin arm. He suddenly stretched out his left hand, and a terrifying Qilin phantom appeared on it. Black runes condensed into a black Qilin. This arm was too terrifying. It was also a great emperor divine ability. Legend has it that one could summon the heroic souls of the Black Qilin clan to attach to one's arm. It could increase the prowess of the arm by several folds, and it could be used to kill enemies. The moment the Qilin arm appeared, it was truly horrifying to the extreme. Everyone was shocked. They realized that even if they were to face such an attack, they would not be able to withstand it. Most likely, he wouldn't be able to withstand it either. It was very likely that he would be instantly turned into a bloody mist. Wherever the Qilin arm passed, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The place where Chao Tianxing was at shattered once again, but he quickly dodged. However, this was not the end. The left hand of the Qilin arm stretched out, enveloping the entire world and sealing the universe. No matter where you hide, as long as you are still in this world, you have nowhere to hide. The Fire Qilin's voice was extremely domineering. The palm formed by the Fire Qilin's arm completely enveloped the entire space. He was confident that he could kill the other party this time. In the face of this attack, Chao Tianxing did not dodge. He clenched his fist again, and a sharp light burst out from his eyes. It was the same punch, but it wasn't a million punches. Instead, it was tens of thousands of attacks. It was completed completely in an instant, and it merged perfectly together. With a boom, it actually blocked the Qilin arm. Everyone was shocked. The Fire Qilin also retracted his palm. The other party could actually withstand it. How despicable. Chao Tianxing rose into the air. "It seems like this is all you have. Then let's end this battle. I'll let you see what it means to attack at a speed of hundreds of millions of times." After hearing this, everyone's pupils shrank. The last time, it was tens of millions of times. This time it was hundreds of millions of times. It directly increased by 10 times. Could the other party's speed reach such a level? They didn't know. However, the next punch shocked them, because at this moment, when the fist was thrown out, it became the only thing in the world. Even those extreme weapons were astonished. This person from the Light Clan was too unbelievable. He could actually reach such a level. The others were even more stunned. Although they couldn't see the fist clearly, they could feel that under this punch, there were probably not many people present who could withstand it. The faces of the people from the Fire Qilin cave also turned ugly. "No. Your Highness, be careful." They roared crazily. The Fire Qilin roared angrily and used the Qilin arm to the extreme. At the same time, a long spear appeared in his hand. The fiery red spear was condensed from his bloodline. It was a peerless spear. Kill. It collided with the fist of hundreds of millions of times. An earth-shattering sound rang out. This punch created a black hole in the sky. The black vortex spun, making people's scalps tingle. How was the battle situation? They didn't know. They all widened their eyes and waited. When the light disappeared, only Chao Tianxing stood there with his hands behind his back. Although his face was ordinary, his body was carrying a mysterious luster at this moment. Everyone's scalps went numb. He eliminated the other party, the Fire Qilin. This was an emperor's son. Was he defeated by the other party with a single punch? No, it wasn't just one punch, but hundreds of millions of punches. Everyone was in an uproar. It was too terrifying. This person could definitely enter the top 10. He could probably compete for the top 5, or even the top 3. Outside the extreme path world, the Fire Qilin spat out a mouthful of blood after coming out. Damn it. He couldn't accept it. Was he really beaten out? That punch just now had made him feel a fatal danger. Cracks had even appeared on his body. His Qilin skill couldn't block the other party's punch? He wanted to fight back, but he realized that he couldn't do it anymore. He had really failed. He didn't even enter the top 10. As the Varch of the Fire Qilin cave, this was unbearable for him. The people of the Fire Qilin cave were also in despair. The other powerhouses sighed. There was nothing they could do. Although the Fire Qilin was powerful, his opponent was the Light Race. They were existences that swept across the world millions of years ago. They were even existences that could travel through time and space. However, later on, the people of the Light Race were destroyed. As for who it was, no one knew now. Only some Tharch clans still had ancient records. It was an earth-shattering battle. It was said that that battle shattered the heavens and shattered the universe. In the end, the Light Race never appeared again. After millions of years, some peerless powerhouses of the Lightning Race appeared. They called themselves the Light Race. They thought that they had reached the limit in speed. However, everyone knew that they weren't the real Light Race because their speed couldn't travel through time and space. However, in the ancient times, the real Light Race appeared alive. Moreover, they defeated the Varch and displayed their powerful strength. Chapter 5402. More battles broke out, but none of them happened. Chao Tianxing had shocked everyone. In the end, the battles were over, and there were only 11 people left. Everyone frowned. There were only 10 people in the top 10, but now there was one more. This meant that one more person was going to be eliminated. Everyone was on high alert. The people left here were all peerless experts who had the qualifications to enter the top 10. It all depended on who was unlucky. Someone had been eliminated. The two most terrifying people were the first emissary. No one dared to challenge them. Even the second emissary was invincible, let alone the first emissary. The other one was the born Taoism aptitude, which was said to be even more terrifying than the chaotic body. Now the great Tao on his body made everyone flinch. The other one was Chao Tianxing. After Chao Tianxing displayed his extreme speed and punched hundreds of millions of times, no one dared to challenge him anymore. Apart from him, the others seemed to be facing a great enemy. The second emissary sneered. Some useless people were not qualified to stand here. He stared at Lin Xian. Then he stared at Murong Qingqing, his eyes shining with a sharp light. Lin Xian's face turned cold. Previously, Yin Ruyu had been eliminated. Then the dark red divine dragon had also been eliminated. Now only he and Murong Qingqing were left. Was someone trying to take advantage of him again? He stood up and stared at the second emissary. I've said it before. Since you dared to injure Ruyu, I won't let you exist in this world. Get out here. Today is the day you die. Everyone was surprised. They had not expected Lin Wuti to take the initiative to challenge the second emissary. The second emissary was very strong and could definitely enter the top 10. No one would challenge such an expert, but Lin Xian had done so. Everyone knew that he was taking revenge for Yan Ruyu. Outside, Yan Ruyu sighed when he saw this. The people of the Divine Union were nervous. Could Boss Lin do it? The people of Mount Eternal sneered. Although Lin Xian had eliminated a few emissaries, the second emissary was different. The indestructible cauldron was terrifying. It was not something the other party could imagine. This time, the second emissary would end the competition. The second emissary walked out. Brat, I originally wanted to get rid of you when I entered the top 10. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish and make it so that you'll never be able to enter the top 10. Don't worry, after you die, I won't let this woman of yours go either. He laughed cruelly. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. Provoking Mount Eternal was the wrong choice. Lin Xian coldly snorted. You want to kill me? I'm afraid you won't have the chance. He roared angrily and threw out a punch. At this moment, heaven and earth shattered. What it displayed was true power. The power of the divine body was boundless. The second emissary shouted angrily. Do you think I'm afraid of you? He had long wanted to kill Lin Xian. At this moment, his murderous aura swept out like the sea. Its entire body blossomed with resplendent radiance, turning into a sword of death. A terrifying aura pierced through heaven and earth and collided with Lin Xian's fist. The void continued to shatter as the two of them fought fiercely. 10 moves had already passed, every single strike able to split open mountains, making those sacred ancestors' scalps go numb. They were too strong. This was a battle between a dragon and a tiger. Who would be stronger this time? Some people supported Lin Xian, and some people thought that the second emissary would win, because the second emissary was too terrifying. After a short exchange, the second emissary took out the indestructible cauldron and circled around her head, releasing tens of thousands of auras. It protected his soul. Boy, I know you have the Rinnegan, but I won't give you a chance. Everyone sighed. It was over. Lin Wuti's soul was also restrained. He had no chance at all. Lin Xian sneered. He used the illusory demon scripture. A terrifying demonic aura appeared, and a demonic shadow appeared behind him. He directly charged over. Lin Xian wanted to kill his opponent. Not only did he want to eliminate his opponent, but he also wanted to kill him. He wouldn't let his opponent live. True demon, overturning sky hand. As soon as he came up, Lin Xian used a peerless great magic. The demonic shadow behind him condensed into a black palm, covering the sky and the earth, enveloping the entire space. Everyone's scalp went numb. They thought that the Qilin arm had appeared again. Because when the fire Qilin used the Qilin arm, it was just like this. Connecting heaven and earth, the palm covered the universe. Now that Lin Xian used a similar peerless skill, they were shocked. The fire Qilin was also shocked. Was this the opponent's peerless skill? The demonic emperor. You're courting death. The second emissary snorted. Since the opponent wanted to end the battle quickly, then he would fulfill his wish. He used all his strength to activate the indestructible cauldron. Below the indestructible cauldron, a palm appeared. It was so lifelike that it seemed to have crossed the universe. With the indestructible cauldron, it blasted forward. It's here. It's this move. Everyone was shocked. Morong Qingqing was nervous. This move was the one that eliminated Yan Ruyu. Yao Guang and the others also narrowed their eyes. They didn't know if Lin Wuti could withstand it. The true demon, overturning sky hand, and the indestructible cauldron collided. Heaven and earth seemed to be torn apart. A torrential force hit everyone's body, causing their blood to boil. So powerful. With a clang, heaven and earth shattered. The indestructible cauldron was forced back. The runes on it dimmed. Countless people exclaimed as they were forced back. The second emissary also retreated and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. But Lin Xian charged out domineeringly. Another strike, overturning sky hand, directly sent the second emissary flying. Cracks appeared on the second emissary's body. Half of his body turned into a bloody mist. He retreated, shattering the void. His face became pale. Damn it, you dare to hurt me? With a roar, an indestructible power appeared. His shattered body quickly recovered. But his gaze became even colder. The other party actually dared to hurt him. He couldn't tolerate it. Lin Xian snorted coldly. "You're not my match at all. Today is the day you die." Forming a seal with his palm, fearless lion imprint. The golden lion rushed out, roaring towards the sky and directly pouncing forward. Monstrous indestructible flames rushed out from the indestructible cauldron, charging towards the fearless lion. The two divine powers collided again. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly attacked. Void finger. A finger pointed out, appearing and disappearing unpredictably, instantly piercing through the second emissary's glabella. The second emissary's head split open. His soul let out a miserable cry. It made one's scalp tingle. He retreated in fright and hurriedly summoned his indestructible spirit to block it. He was sent flying by the golden lion again. Although he was injured, he didn't die. Because he had indestructible power. The surrounding people were shocked. Heavens, Lin Wuti was too strong. He completely had the upper hand. Could it be that the second emissary was going to be eliminated? Outside, the people of the Gu family were stunned. Those elders even opened their eyes wide. Damn it, how was this possible? Chapter 5403. Damn it, why does he know our Gu family's ability? The elders of the Gu family roared crazily. As soon as these words were said, the surrounding people were also shocked. What was going on? The people of the Yi family frowned and asked, "Did you see it clearly?" The elders of the Gu family shouted coldly. How could they not see it clearly? They stared at the light screen, and some people stared at the people of the Divine Union. The people of the Divine Union snorted coldly. They were not afraid at all because they were not afraid of the Emperor family now. Moreover, this was near the extreme Dao world. The people of the Gu family probably would not dare to make a move. Inside the extreme Dao valley, countless people exclaimed when they saw this scene. Yao Guang's pupils shrank. Void ability, you actually know this kind of ability. You also have the Gu family's ability? He had swallowed the experts of the Gu family before, so he naturally knew the power of space. At this moment, he was also extremely shocked when he saw this finger. The other geniuses were also in an uproar. The second emissary's expression was extremely ugly. The first emissary said in a deep voice, "The Gu family will not let you off if you secretly learn the ability of the Emperor family." Secretly learn? Lin Xian sneered. Do I need to secretly learn? I have the great dragon sword soul, and can transform everything in the world. Why can't I use a mere spatial ability? He stared at the first emissary and shouted coldly, angering the first emissary. Lin Xian ignored him. He turned to stare at Yao Guang and sneered. You still have the face to be here? Tell me, is Gu Feng dead? Were you the one who made a move on him? How do you think the Gu family will deal with you after you go out? Yao Guang's expression changed when he heard this. He shouted coldly, I didn't kill Gu Feng. Lin Xian laughed loudly. Who would believe you? You didn't swallow the chaotic body? Didn't you swallow the other geniuses? The person most likely to kill Gu Feng is you. You'd better think about how to bear the anger of the Emperor family first. Countless people were in an uproar when these words were said. The people of the Gu family outside were also gnashing their teeth. Previously they had suspected Lin Wuti, but now they suspected it was Yao Guang. Damn it, he couldn't have really swallowed it, right? Yao Guang was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was ashen. What kind of joke was this? He hadn't even seen Gu Feng's face, let alone devour him. This was a black pot, and he didn't want to be the scapegoat. However, Lin Xian did not care. He had already charged towards the second emissary. What other tricks do you have? Use them all. Otherwise, today will be the day you die. Lin Xian sneered. He took out the Hellfire Dragon Sword and slashed out. The dazzling sword light transformed into divine light, forming a starry sky divine sword that descended from the sky. With a boom, the void shattered. The second emissary roared. Confrontation. He used the indestructible cauldron to block the sword. However, at this moment, the second sword slashed down. This sword carried the aura of the origin returning realm as it streaked across the void like an arc. It was as if a rainbow was breathtaking. The sword struck the indestructible cauldron again. The indestructible cauldron kept shaking, and the second emissary was beaten to the point of spitting out blood. Next, the Azura sword skill appeared and disappeared unpredictably. Finally, the sword slashed open the second emissary's body, severely injuring the second emissary. She gritted her teeth. Damn it! Could it be that she was going to be defeated today? She was unwilling. She roared to the sky, and the indestructible aura on her body shot into the sky. Then she spat out blood, and the blood energy soared into the sky, turning into a blood cloud. Kid, go to hell. In the blood cloud, demonic beasts appeared one after another, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. They were extremely ferocious. They were called blood soul beasts, a very terrifying ability of Mount Eternal. Using one's own blood, one could summon terrifying demonic beasts. These demonic beasts had a murderous aura, and could directly devour the souls of others. At this moment, hundreds of blood soul beasts appeared, covering the sky and earth. The surrounding people felt their scalps go numb, and they retreated in horror. Damn it, how could there be such a thing? What kind of demonic beasts were these? Countless people were terrified, and even Lin Xian frowned. He felt a threat to his soul. In the next moment he snorted coldly. I don't care what kind of monster you are, I will kill you with my sword. He shouted angrily, and the sound of a dragon rang out. The 10,000 dragon divine blood bloomed, and 10,000 dragon shadows appeared behind him. Wind dragons, thunder dragons, Tyrannosaurus rexes, sea dragons, and all kinds of giant dragons soared into the sky. They rushed over in an overwhelming manner, and fought with the blood soul beasts. Lin Xian's every move carried an invincible power. These blood soul beasts were torn to pieces, and the blood cloud in the sky was also shattered. A few more swords passed. The second emissary's body was torn apart. The first emissary's expression completely changed. He said, "Come back, you are no match for him." He could see that there was still a gap between the two sides. The second emissary could not defeat Lin Xian. As soon as these words came out, the others were in an uproar. Lin Wuti was really too strong. The second emissary gritted his teeth. Was he defeated? He was unwilling. Just as he was hesitating, Lin Xian suddenly rushed over. Boom. He punched out, covered in monstrous demonic aura, forming a terrifying demonic sea. It was as dark as ink, swallowing everything. No one could see the scene inside anymore. What happened? The second emissary's expression changed. He shouted angrily and wanted to escape. But in the next moment, he found that the world was spinning, and his surroundings had changed drastically. An even more intense pressure pressed down, and he came to a magical space. Where was this? Get lost. He tried to open the sky with his palm, but found that it was useless. Lin Xian kicked over and forced the second emissary back. He said, "Today is the day you die. You want to kill me? Are you kidding? I am an undying existence. And I have a protective jade pendant. Even if I really lose, I can escape safely." A protective jade pendant? Are you sure? Lin Xian shouted coldly. Suddenly, a dragon-shaped sword energy appeared in his hand, and he slashed forward. The second emissary's hair stood on end. He used his indestructible power to block. But this sword directly sent the indestructible cauldron flying, and he was also instantly cut in half. He screamed crazily. Ah, the power of the dragon sword soul. Damn it. How can you use so much power? This was the extreme path world. The dragon sword soul definitely couldn't come out. It could only stay in Lin Xian's body. Previously, he could rely on the power of Mount Eternal to resist. But now the great dragon sword soul had flown out. His little bit of strength was not enough. Lin Xian sneered. Because this is my world. Here, I am the king, I am the ruler. So, I will let you live. You will die. You definitely won't live today. With that, Lin Xian slashed out again, splitting the other party's body again. The dragon sword soul was invincible. The power of Mount Eternal was incomparably mysterious. But at this moment, it recovered somewhat slowly. The second emissary was completely stunned. He wanted to escape and break through the void, but he couldn't do it. At this moment, Lin Xian slapped out again. The demonic god seal carried the aura of the Tao of Dragon. The two great techniques merged together. The second emissary was smashed into pieces, and he turned into a bloody mist. No. He was finally terrified. He crushed the protective jade pendant and turned into a white light, wanting to leave. However, at this moment, Lin Xian sneered. You can't escape. The black jar fell from the sky and turned into a vortex. It directly swallowed him. Chapter 5404. The heaven-swallowing jar descended and swallowed everything, enveloping the white light. The second emissary originally thought that he would use the protective jade pendant to leave the other party's space and come to the outside world. Although he was unwilling to lose, it was impossible for the other party to kill him. But when he opened his eyes and found that his surroundings were pitch black, he was terrified. Damn it, where was this? He roared crazily. At the same time, he felt a huge pressure, as if a millstone that could destroy the world was constantly crushing him. It completely shattered his body. Blood flowed and dripped around. He used the power of immortality, but just as his body recovered, he was crushed again. This power made him despair. Damn it, the aura of the extreme path. He was terrified that the other party could still use the power of the extreme path. No, this power was not something he could resist at all. He roared towards the sky, and an immortal rune appeared between his brows. At the same time, a low voice sounded, as if it had crossed the ancient time and space. The rune between his brows carried a mysterious power. For a moment, it actually blocked the black vortex. The second emissary laughed sinisterly. Brat, you don't even know who's standing behind Mount Eternal. So what if you have an extreme path weapon? It's just the extreme path. Our Mount Eternal has a true mortal paragon. What do you have to fight us? He laughed proudly. Lin Xian saw that the heaven-swallowing jar was not killed. The other party was also stunned. The immortal paragon. He frowned. What was this? However, the power emitted from the other party's glabella did indeed shock him. It turned out that this was the other party's true trump card. This power had already surpassed the second emissary's own. It was not something that the sacred ancestor could use. But so what? Lin Xian shouted coldly. The other party dared to eliminate Yin Ruyu, so he had already made up his mind to kill him. He would not let the other party leave alive. I don't care if you are a mortal paragon. In this world, I am the ruler. Today you will die without a doubt. He roared. The heaven-swallowing jar controlled the other party and flew towards the barren area inside. The second emissary sneered. I am an immortal existence, and I have the power of a mortal paragon protecting me. There is nothing you can do. His face was full of disdain, but the scene around him gradually changed. A desolate aura appeared, causing the symbol between his brows to shake violently. A roar sounded, suddenly sounding like thunder from the 9 heavens. The second emissary felt fear. What was going on? Why did he feel that the power of a sovereign in the human world was being suppressed? Oh, where is this? What is this place? What kind of space was this? He was actually able to suppress human sovereigns. They were very clear about the mortal supremes, even though they had never seen them before. However, that power was capable of easily allowing them to live or die. This was the strongest power in the world. But now, the power of a human sovereign was actually being suppressed. This world was simply too terrifying. At this moment, the heaven-devouring jar exploded with power once again, turning the second emissary into a bloody mist. The black vortex obliterated everything. A black rune fell from the bloody mist and turned into a stream of light, trying to escape. Lin Xian slashed back with his sword. With a clang, it was forced to retreat, and its arm went numb. Was this the power of a human sovereign? It was really too strong. If it wasn't for the protection of the great dragon sword soul, he would have been injured. A mere human ant dares to stop me? Inside the black rune, a voice that had experienced the vicissitudes of life suddenly sounded. It was abnormally deep. Lin Xian snorted. I don't care if you're a human sovereign. You're just a rune, and you want to escape? Be destroyed. The heaven-devouring jar exploded and charged forward. Black vortexes continued to appear, covering the sky and blocking off the enemy's path. The black rune crashed into the vortex, as if it had entered a quagmire. In the end, It flew into the distance. However, not long after, it started to roar crazily. Damn it, what kind of world was this? This was a god. Before it could finish, a power suddenly came from the heaven and earth, knocking it down and turning it into ashes. Lin Xian was also stunned. This power wasn't from him, but the power of this world. Was there still power in this world? He was shocked. The Hellfire Dragon beside him was also kneeling on the ground and worshipping. What was it worshipping? Lin Xian flew over and asked, "Do you know what's going on?" The Hellfire Dragon shook its head. It didn't dare to say. After walking for a long time, the Hellfire Dragon stood up. It said, "Kid, you put so much power in this world, and there's also the heavenly spring of life. I think this world has recovered a little. That power just now should be the power that this world gathered after it recovered a little. This human sovereign of Mount Eternal was really unlucky. With his identity, he shouldn't be able to come here. That was why he dared to shout and release his power here. He was definitely going to die." Lin Xian felt that this sword world was getting more and more mysterious. There were many secrets waiting for him to discover. The Hellfire Dragon didn't know much. However, the more mysterious this world was, the more benefits it would have for him. Lin Xian took a deep breath, the corner of his mouth raised. The indestructible cauldron was sealed by him, and then he grabbed it in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the black vortex swallowed all the blood around him. The second emissary no longer existed. The indestructible rune disappeared. With a flash, Lin Xian walked out of the sword world. Countless people were waiting outside. Because in the valley ahead, demonic aura filled the sky and covered everything. Everyone couldn't see the scene inside clearly. They didn't know how the battle was going. Why was it so quiet there? They didn't hear any sounds of fighting? Could it be that the battle was already over? They were puzzled. Suddenly, the demonic sea in front of them rolled. The demonic aura gradually dissipated. Countless people exclaimed, "Look!" At this moment, the geniuses on the heaven stairway and the experts outside all stared at the front. They wondered how the battle was going in the end. When the demonic aura disappeared, they saw a figure standing between the heavens and the earth. The person was covered in demonic aura, like a demon god. It was Lin Wudi. They exclaimed. Lin Wudi appeared. Where was the second emissary? They looked around and didn't see the second emissary. The experts on the heaven stairway exclaimed. Could it be that he was already eliminated? The first emissary's face changed. No way, the other party could actually be eliminated? Yao Guang and the others frowned. Morong Qingqing laughed. On the other hand, the people outside of Mount Eternal had gone mad. The third emissary gritted his teeth and said, "Impossible," because they didn't notice the second emissary coming out. The elders also frowned. They checked. They checked in all directions but didn't find anyone. The Fire Qilin frowned. What was Lin Wudi doing? Long Wu of the Thousand Dragons Imperial Court exclaimed. Look, what was Lin Wudi holding in his hand? Everyone looked over and gasped in shock. Chapter 5405. In the extreme Dao Valley, when the first emissary saw the indestructible cauldron, his pupils constricted. Damn it, why is this thing in your hands? Where is the second emissary? He had a bad feeling about this. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He threw the indestructible cauldron on the ground and said in a deep voice, "He has already gone to hell. I said that he will definitely die today." What, dead? Everyone was stunned. What? That was impossible. One had to know that they had protective jade pendants. Even if their lives were threatened, they would be instantly teleported out. The first emissary's expression changed. She instinctively didn't believe it. Because not only did they have protective jade pendants, but they also had the indestructible rune. It was given to them by the human sovereign. There definitely wouldn't be any accidents. But the indestructible cauldron was separated from the second emissary. This was beyond his imagination. They were the 10 emissaries, and each emissary had a weapon. The weapon and their lives were intertwined. The weapon would be with the person, and the weapon would only be separated when the person died. Now that the indestructible cauldron appeared and the second emissary disappeared, it meant that the second emissary had most likely died. How did he do it? For the first time, he was filled with shock. Originally, he didn't care about Lin Xian because he was high and mighty. But now, there was a trace of fear in his heart. A person who could ignore the power of a human sovereign? In the sky, the few extreme Dao weapons were also puzzled. How was it possible that he was dead? Didn't he give them life-saving jade pendants? The life treasure bottle was shocked. The black tortoise also frowned. Didn't you guys feel a mysterious aura just now? The destructive spear said. This kid definitely had a secret, and it was a huge secret. Other than the 9-yang divine body and the great dragon's descendant, he should have other trump cards. But what was it? Should we capture him and take a look? The destructive spear said. The black tortoise shook his head. No, don't act rashly. There are so many people watching. We can't make a move. And didn't you notice? That mysterious aura doesn't seem to be a threat to us. Maybe he's on our side. The few extreme Dao weapons discussed in the sky. In the end, they decided to observe in the dark and not touch Lin Xian. But the others went crazy. The second emissary was so terrifying, but he was actually killed. This wasn't an elimination, but a real death. It made their hair stand on end. Previously, they had heaved a sigh of relief when they found the protective jade pendant. But now, it seemed that protecting the jade pendant was not enough to completely protect their lives. At least, there was an exception in front of Lin Wuti. Lin Xian threw away the indestructible cauldron. He had no use for it. He could not use the indestructible energy on it. He only took it out to warn those people. Since he dared to challenge him, not only would he eliminate him, he would kill him. He stared at a few figures. For example, the first emissary and Yao Guang both had killing intent in their eyes. The first emissary's face was cold. Since the other party had killed the second emissary, he would not let the other party off. Yao Guang also frowned. The quasi-emperor Jiu Shao in his mind said that this brat was very dangerous. However, I wanted his body even more. His secrets were all mine. The quasi-emperor had a greedy look in his eyes. The death of the second emissary shocked countless people. At the same time, the battle reached a new level. Now there were only 10 people left. These 10 people had all entered the top 10, and countless people looked up to them. The 10 people stood on the sky stairway, and were looked up to from all directions. The extreme-grade weapon in the sky also descended. Congratulations on successfully entering the top 10. Your names will be engraved on the sky monument, and be admired by all ages. The spectators outside were extremely envious. Xiang Huiqilin, Kuanpingzi, and the third emissary were gnashing their teeth. They were originally very strong, but they had no chance of entering the top 10. They could only be eliminated. Damn it! Especially when they saw their enemy, Lin Wuti, standing there with a look of disdain. They were so angry that they vomited blood. The Divine Union cheered. Great Boss Lin had entered the top 10. Next, he should be able to kill his way into the top 3. That was for sure. Boss would be the final champion. They cheered. The people from Mount Eternal sneered. Stupid thing. With the first emissary here, Lin Wuti definitely had no hope of winning. On the other side, the people from Dao 1 sect were also confident. The Born Dao aptitude was enough to sweep through everything. The people from Purple Mansion sect were also shining. Now they had 2 people in the top 10. One was Yao Guang, the other was Xiaoying. Xiaoying could fight for the top 5, and Yao Guang could definitely fight for the top 3. He might even be first. Because Yao Guang had swallowed too many experts. The next 3 days of rest would give the top 10 enough time to recover. 3 days later, the top 10 ranking competition would start. This would be the final top 10. Although there were rewards, the reward for the first place was even more amazing. It was something left behind by the great emperor. What exactly was it? Everyone was looking forward to it. Lin Xian and Morong Qingqing sat down cross-legged. Lin Xian grabbed Morong Qingqing's hand and gave her the divine spring of life in the sword world. It allowed her to recover quickly. At the same time, he transmitted his voice. Qingqing, the next competition will be extremely dangerous. If you encounter something you can't fight against, you must leave early. Lin Xian could kill the second emissary because he had a powerful trump card. The others might not have no trump cards. If they missed the opportunity to leave, it would be really dangerous. Morong Qingqing nodded. Brother Xian, don't worry, you don't have to worry about me. On the other hand, I'm afraid there are many people who want to kill you. You have to be careful. Lin Xian laughed. No worries, it's impossible for them to kill me. This time, I will let them know. What is true invincibility? Lin Xian's eyes erupted with a terrifying light. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, and the top 10 experts on the heaven stairway all stood up. The spectators outside also took a deep breath and clenched their fists. The final battle was finally about to begin. The extreme-grade weapon in the sky descended. Black Tortoise looked around and laughed. Next would be the ranking competition. It was still a challenge, but there weren't many specific rules. You can decide for yourselves. After he finished speaking, he soared into the air and arrived above the 9 heavens to observe silently. The surrounding people were all stunned. Decide for themselves? What was this? Wasn't this just breaking the rules? Countless people were shocked. Would someone join hands? They all looked at the array formation in front of them. The people from Mount Eternal had ugly expressions. Now that there was only one person left inside, there was no way for them to join hands. However, the Yi family elder said that even if there were more people, they would not join hands. Chapter 5406. As soon as these words came out, the others also nodded. Indeed, they had reached this point. Every one of them had the potential to become a great emperor. These people were unruly. Moreover, they were determined to reach the peak of martial arts and would never team up. Sure enough, the top 10 people frowned after hearing this. The first emissary said coldly, "Then let's continue according to the previous rules and start the challenge. Who will go first?" As soon as he finished speaking, the first emissary looked at Lin Xian with a trace of cold killing intent in his eyes. There was an immortal rune throbbing between his eyebrows. When he was resting for 3 days, he saw a strange scene through the rune between his eyebrows. It was their Mount Eternal. The aura was pervasive. In the depths of Mount Eternal, there was a mysterious figure sitting cross-legged there. This was their mortal sovereign of Mount Eternal. That mortal sovereign seemed to have sensed the death of the second emissary and roared into the sky, shattering the starry sky. The terrifying Mount Eternal shook violently. Who is it? Who can destroy my power? The first emissary's scalp went numb when the mortal sovereign was angry. He knew that if he couldn't kill Lin Xian, he wouldn't be able to quell the mortal sovereign's anger. Even if he couldn't kill Lin Xian, he had to suppress Lin Xian and bring him back to Mount Eternal for the mortal sovereign to deal with. Therefore, he was eager to kill Lin Xian now. However, he didn't act rashly, because there were a few people who could threaten him. Innate Taoism aptitude, super strong physique, and an ancient light clan. That speed also shocked him. Moreover, Lin Xian himself also surprised him. He still couldn't understand what kind of power could destroy the mortal sovereign's power. What kind of super strong trump card did Lin Wudi have? Would he be able to withstand it? Therefore, he didn't make a move because he wasn't confident. He was waiting. It was best if Lin Wudi was exhausted and injured in the battle. Then he would make a move. In the previous round, there were rules to protect the people who had fought. Those who had fought couldn't continue fighting. This was to protect the warriors while they recovered. However, there were no rules in this round. He said that he would follow the previous rules, but when the time came, he could make a move. As long as the extreme-grade weapon didn't stop him, no one could stop him. Therefore, he was waiting for the right opportunity to kill Lin Wudi. However, although he didn't attack Lin Xian, it didn't mean that he wouldn't attack others. Because he was really too angry. They were the 10 great emissaries. They could have swept the world. But now he was the only one left. Especially after Lin Xian had killed the second emissary, his killing intent had surfaced. He had to release this killing intent, so he turned his head and stared at a figure. "It's you, get out here and accept your death." He stared at Heiqi. Countless people were shocked. Was the number 1 emissary going to take action? Heiqi's face turned gloomy. Although he had entered the top 10, he was unable to do so. He was also the double crown champion, but when facing the first emissary, he still acted as if he was facing a great enemy. This person gave him an unfathomable feeling, but since he had already challenged him, How could he not accept the challenge? He took a step forward and shouted, "If you want to challenge me, then bring out your full strength." Behind him, 9 large black flags danced in the air, sweeping in all directions. A terrifying aura pervaded the air, and the first emissary shouted coldly. A sword appeared in his hand. It was a black indestructible sword. He slashed out, enveloping that place with black chi. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. How terrifying! Burning incense, Murong Qingcheng, and the other's pupils shrank. This was the power of the first emissary. It was really too strong. It was completely beyond their expectations. In that instant, their souls seemed to have been split open. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together as well. The spectators outside were in an uproar. The Fire Qilin, Kuanping Zi, and the others were shocked. It was too strong, completely exceeding them. The people from Mount Eternal laughed heartily. Did you see that? This was the power of the first emissary. Who could resist such power? Was it settled? Yao Guang sneered. This was too weak. Xiaoying frowned. He felt that the black chess piece shouldn't be so easy to deal with. The first emissary also frowned. He did feel that the terrifying killing intent in front of him hadn't disappeared yet. In the next moment, 9 large flags came out from the cracks in the sky. They held up the sky and sealed the universe. Black phantoms appeared on the flags. His cold voice rang out. In the 9 revolutions killing array, the figures on the 9 flags were spinning nonstop. A terrifying killing power emerged. They charged toward the first emissary, Yao Guang. In his mind, Quasi-Emperor Jiao Shao was also surprised. It was actually this kind of formation. This is a very ancient formation. I thought it should have been lost in this era. I didn't expect him to be able to use it. Yao Guang sucked in a mouthful of cold air after hearing that. One could imagine how frightening that spirit formation was. The first emissary also shouted coldly, "It's useless. You're no match for me." The sword technique in his hand danced continuously to counter the array formation around him. At the same time, the ancient aura on his body became even more terrifying. It wanted to destroy the 9 flags. The black phantoms on the 9 flags kept appearing and disappearing mysteriously. No one knew which one was his real body. When the emissaries of Mount Eternal outside saw this, their brows furrowed tightly. This array formation was actually so strange. The third emissary smiled. "Don't worry. Boss's strength is very terrifying. Even if it's a peerless formation, so what? As long as Boss is serious, nothing can go against him." Sure enough, after 10 moves, the first emissary's face darkened. "Can't you tell the real one from the 9 flags? Then I'll destroy them all." Sword Chi soared into the sky. The first emissary pointed his sword at the sky. Inextinguishable sword intent appeared, turned into a sea, and pressed down from the sky. At this moment, it directly attacked the 9 flags. Struck by the sword beam, the flag shook incessantly. The light radiating from the flag dimmed, as though it would break at any moment. Black phantoms roared angrily and once again used his peerless magic. The 9 flags changed their formation again. They spewed out terrifying flames, struck out terrifying thunder, and had a sea of blood to resist. However, the first emissary was really too terrifying. His sword technique carried endless killing intent. After the two exchanged more than 100 moves, Black Phantoms was defeated. The 9 flags were sent flying in different directions. Black Phantoms was also helpless. With a sigh, he turned into white light and was eliminated. However, he didn't go out. Instead, he went outside the extreme Dao Valley. This meant that he had been eliminated. His ranking had fallen to 10th. Countless people looked at this scene and cried out in shock. Was it over? It was really too exciting. Although Black Phantoms was defeated, it was incomparably shocking. Black Phantom's formation was too terrifying. However, the first emissary was even more terrifying. His sword technique was shocking. Every sword could split the sky and the earth. He was definitely a top swordsman. Who could stop such a person? Burning incense, Xiao Ying, and the others frowned. They realized that if they met the first emissary, they would probably end the battle within 100 moves. Chapter 5407. The strength of the first emissary shocked countless people. They looked at him with reverence in their eyes. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. He stepped forward and looked at the first emissary. He said, "You're very arrogant, eliminating one person right away. But don't worry, I'll eliminate you next." His eyes were filled with a terrifying killing intent. The first emissary's expression turned cold. He laughed coldly. "Who allowed you to challenge me? Don't you know that I have time to rest?" Lin Xian laughed loudly. "Are you crazy?" The seniors of the extreme grade weapon said that there are no rules in this battle. "I can challenge you immediately." When he said this, everyone's expressions changed. Heavens, they hadn't thought of this. The first emissary's expression sank. "Do you want to die?" Chen Xian snorted coldly. "Do you dare to make a move? Come on, aren't you high and mighty? Don't you want to kill me? I'll give you a chance. Come here." The first emissary snorted coldly. "I've expended a lot of energy and can't fight well. I'll fight you when I've recovered." As he spoke, he turned around and left. "Coward!" Lin Xian sneered. This made the first emissary very angry. When had he ever been looked down upon? However, he had indeed expended a lot of energy, so he didn't dare to make a move against the mysterious Lin Wuti. Lin Xian also retreated. The scene was a little strange. At this moment, Yao Guang walked out. He looked around and laughed coldly. "Then it's my turn." Everyone was shocked. Yao Guang? He was also a terrifying expert. They didn't dare to make a move easily. Yao Guang stared at burning incense and said, "Let's fight this fairy." Burning incense took a deep breath. As a top-tier genius, how could he be afraid? He walked forward. She was wearing a flaming armor and had a head of fiery red hair. She had a beautiful and fair face. She looked like a goddess of fire. She formed a seal with her palms and flames erupted from her body, sweeping through the sky. The entire world was set ablaze. Burning incense didn't dare to be careless. She unleashed 100,000 volcanoes with her hands. They erupted together and swept towards Yao Guang. Feeling this power, the surrounding people were shocked. This woman was too terrifying. She was definitely not weaker than the Fire Qilin. Even though he wasn't an imperial prince, these flames were too terrifying. These were the legendary heaven-burning flames. Radiance erupted between heaven and earth, as brilliant as fireworks. Yao Guang laughed loudly and slapped out with her palm. It also transformed into a flaming palm, covering the world like the hand of a fire god. It collided with the other party's heaven-burning flames. The two of them erupted with an even more resplendent light. Everyone was stunned. This light-shaking realm cultivator was incredible. Its flames were just as terrifying. Outside, the Fire Qilin's expression instantly changed. "Damn it, this is the power of our Fire Qilin cave." He gritted his teeth. Everyone else was stunned. It seemed that light-shaking realm cultivators had also swallowed Fire Qilins before. Two types of flames erupted between heaven and earth. At this moment, Yao Guang's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already behind burning incense and struck out with his palm. This was the Gu clan's void divine ability, and it was executed to perfection by him. Burning incense didn't dare to be careless. Naturally, he knew how terrifying a light-shaking realm cultivator was. A pair of flaming wings appeared on his back and turned into a shield to block the attack. With a clang, he was knocked back. At the same time, he slashed out with his sword. The flaming sword slashed behind him. Yao Guang laughed coldly. The phantom of a king appeared, standing indomitable, as if he had turned into a fire god. It directly shattered the sword energy. He was incomparably powerful, suppressing burning incense. Burning incense suffered, and her face became incomparably pale. She was suppressed and couldn't even resist. There was nothing she could do. Her opponent was simply too powerful. The surrounding people were also shocked. The light-shaking realm's various ultimate techniques were endless, and it was simply impossible to resist. In the end, burning incense was defeated. He arrived outside the extreme path realm, and was ranked 9th. Burning incense laughed bitterly. It was really unlucky to encounter a light-shaking realm cultivator. Otherwise, he could have held on for a while longer, and wouldn't have been defeated so easily. After light-shaking realm 1, he looked around. It seemed that he wanted to continue challenging. However, in the end, he laughed coldly and walked back. He wasn't in a hurry. He wanted to play this game slowly. After Light Shaking Realm, the dog had walked up. He asked who would fight Lord Dog. A dog didn't have the right to be here. Xiaoying harumphed coldly. I'll kill you. He strode out. Previously, he had swallowed 2 Bodhi fruits and his strength had increased greatly. This time, he was full of confidence. Therefore, when he saw a dog acting arrogantly, he was naturally angry. You want to challenge Lord Dog? If you don't taste good, then Lord Dog will defeat you directly. As he spoke, he waved his paw, tore through the void, and charged forward. Xiaoying harumphed coldly and slashed out. This was the shadowless blade, and it couldn't be seen. Only a sonorous sound could be heard. The dog paw was forced back. Lord Dog harumphed coldly. He waved the white bone in his hand, and it collided with the shadowless blade. An earth-shattering sound rang out, and the void shattered. It was shocking. The shadowless blade appeared and disappeared mysteriously, and the white bone was even more terrifying. At this moment, the dog-headed Taoist waved his hand, and the big iron pot on his back flew out. It enlarged in the sky like a canopy and fell directly. Xiaoying was hit, and he instantly became dizzy and spat out blood. Despicable guy. Woof woof, you dare to fight Lord Dog? The dog-headed Taoist laughed coldly as he controlled the iron pot and the white bone to attack. As he ran over, he opened his bloody mouth and tried to bite him. Xiaoying was disdainful, but when his physique clashed with the other party, it was instantly bitten. One of his arms was bitten off, and he cried out in pain as blood splattered everywhere. Damn dog. He was shocked. The other party's teeth were way too sharp. Lord Dog laughed coldly. Watch me swallow you. Swallow heaven and earth. He used a terrifying great divine ability and swallowed the entire world. The sky instantly darkened, and one couldn't even see their own fingers. When the people outside saw this, they were also shocked. This dog was too terrifying. Lin Xian also squinted his eyes. Until now, he still didn't know where this dog came from. However, there was no doubt that the other party was terrifying. Although Xiaoying's strength had increased greatly, he was probably going to lose this battle. Xiaoying used his shadowless body technique to dodge quickly. However, under the bloody mouth, he had nowhere to hide. In the end, he could only use all his strength to resist. One slash cut through the heaven and earth, and another slash swept through the void. After a few slashes, he couldn't break through it. In the end, he was almost swallowed by the mouth. He could only be eliminated. Damn it. Xiaoying gritted his teeth. He didn't expect to be 8th. This was completely different from what he had expected. In his opinion, he should be able to make it into the top 5. Damn it. His eyes burned with anger. The people outside also sighed. The 8th place was indeed not as good as they had hoped. Fortunately, they still had hope, and that was the Light Shaking Realm. With the strength that the Light Shaking Realm had displayed so far, it was definitely not a problem for him to enter the top 3. He might even be first. Chapter 5408. The Dog-Headed Taoist won. He walked back with his head held high and the iron pot on his back. Xiaoying, who had lost, had an ugly look on his face. He couldn't accept losing to a dog. However, he didn't have the chance to fight anymore. At this moment, the born Taoism aptitude cultivator finally moved. He had always been mysterious and rarely fought before. That was because he didn't need to fight. Just by standing there, his aura could scare away a group of people. No one dared to challenge him. Therefore, she advanced all the way. However, it was now time to decide the champion, so she had to fight. The born Taoism aptitude cultivator walked out and looked at the first emissary. You didn't dare to fight before because you were exhausted. You should have recovered by now. If you recover, come out and fight me. Her voice was ethereal and very pleasant to the ears. However, it was like a clap of thunder in everyone's ears. Heavens, she was going to fight the first emissary. Everyone was excited because both the first emissary and the born Taoism aptitude cultivator were popular candidates for the championship. Everyone thought that the winner would be decided in the end. They didn't expect such a top-level collision to happen at the beginning. Countless people were excited. The people outside were also in an uproar. The elders of Mount Eternal were nervous. That was the born Taoism aptitude. They didn't know how terrifying it was. The first emissary's face was cold. To be honest, he wanted to fight with Lin Xian, but the born Taoism aptitude cultivator suddenly challenged him. He said coldly, "Do you think I'm afraid of you? Then I'll defeat you first. I'll kill that kid." "You won't defeat me," the born Taoism aptitude cultivator said coldly. Then, he glanced at Lin Xian in the distance with a mysterious light in his eyes. She turned her head and walked to the center of the field. Lin Xian was stunned. What did that look mean? Could it be that this person knew him? As for the born Taoism aptitude cultivator, he only knew that she was a woman. However, he couldn't see her face clearly. She was surrounded by the Great Path. It was too terrifying. Even with his Rinnegan, he couldn't see the other party's appearance. However, she felt that her voice was familiar. However, she couldn't remember who it was. She didn't know who it was. The first emissary's face was gloomy. He stared at the born Taoism aptitude cultivator. "Do you know Lin Wudi? Originally, I only wanted to defeat you. If you want to know Lin Wudi, then I will send you to hell." He took out the undying sword and slashed forward. The terrifying aura shocked everyone. That sword attack was terrifying. Yet the born Taoism aptitude remained fearless. He formed a seal with his palm, forming a Dao seal. Then he slammed it forward, blocking the sword. Dao will filled the air, and it was incomparably terrifying. "Show me your true strength. Otherwise, you don't deserve to be my opponent." As soon as he finished speaking, countless great paths fell from the sky and transformed into the Great Path Milky Way. There was a total of 81 great paths. It was incomparably terrifying, and it directly enveloped the first envoy. The first emissary roared angrily, and the sword in his hand soared into the sky. Like a bolt of black lightning, it swept in all directions. It clashed with the 81 great Daos and the Milky Way. These were two peerless great divine abilities. Regardless of whether it was the sword technique or the Great Path, they were both extremely terrifying. The collision between the two made the surrounding sky prides feel as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Burning Incense, Xiaoying, and the others were all shocked. In the face of such an expert, they couldn't resist at all. Murong Qingqing's face was also solemn, and Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It had to be said that these two people were very powerful. The people outside were also shocked. The elders of Mount Eternal and the Dao Yi school clenched their fists. Obviously, they couldn't calm down. At that moment, Chao Tianxing also walked over. He said, "You are Yao Guang, right? You cultivate demonic techniques and have countless supreme techniques. I want to fight with you. Do you dare?" Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that someone would want to fight at the same time as a peerless battle. Moreover, the challenger was Yao Guang. The challenger was from the ancient light race. This was also a fierce battle. Everyone was stunned. Even Lin Xian was surprised. Why not? I have never experienced the light race before." Yao Guang snorted coldly. He was very confident in his own strength. "So what if you are from the ancient light race? Let's see if you can really travel through time." He walked out. Everyone was shocked. Two great battles were about to break out. It was really too unbelievable. Yao Guang used his spatial abilities as soon as he came up, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. He wouldn't give his opponent a chance to attack. However, Chao Tianxing was also very fast. Although he didn't know any spatial abilities, his speed was extremely fast. It was no different from spatial teleportation. In fact, it was even more terrifying. With one punch, he cut off Yao Guang's path. What fast speed! Yao Guang's pupils shrank. He waved his hand. Countless wind blades appeared in his hand. He slashed at his opponent. The saber slashed through the air, but the other party hit him instead. He was blasted away. However, an extremely terrifying method power appeared on his body. It was a super powerful body tempering technique. Yao Guang's chi and blood roiled. His expression was gloomy. "Interesting. You make me very interested. Next, I'm going to get serious." He shouted angrily, and a black vortex appeared above his head. At the same time, flames, wind, lightning, the Yi clan's illusions, and the Gu clan's spatial abilities all attacked. They fought with Chao Tiansheng. Chao Tiansheng only had one type of speed, and that was extreme speed. The place where the two of them were fighting was completely boiling. On the other side, the battle between the Born Dao aptitude and the first emissary was also extremely terrifying. The first emissary's expression became extremely ugly. He felt that he was being suppressed. Damn it, I don't believe it. With a roar, his sword technique became even more terrifying. The murderous aura made the scalps of the sacred clan members tingle. However, the Born Dao aptitude was incomparably calm. Every method power was extremely profound. Even the extreme Dao weapons were amazed. As expected of the Born Dao aptitude, his comprehension of the great Dao was naturally superior. Such a person was already very terrifying. In the future, he would probably stand at the peak of the martial Dao. Looking at these two battles, Lin Xian's blood boiled. He looked around. There were 4 people fighting now, and 3 people had been eliminated. There were only 3 people left. Him, Morong Qingcheng, and the dog-headed man. He wouldn't challenge Morong Qingcheng, so he could only look at the dog-headed man. The dog-headed man's face darkened. Kid, do you want to attack me? Damn it, don't forget that I barbecued meat for you. You can't do this. Lin Xian smiled. I have no choice. You're my only opponent. Why don't you fight with me first? With that, Lin Xian walked out. The dog-headed man was helpless. Then don't blame me for swallowing you. A hint of viciousness appeared in his eyes. The surrounding people were shocked again. Lin Wudi also wanted to fight. Chapter 5409. Devouring the Heavens and Earth. The dog-headed Taoist immediately charged out, opening his bloody mouth as he charged at Lin Xian. Lin Xian activated his divine body and didn't dodge at all. Instead, he charged towards the dog-headed Taoist's fangs. With a loud clang, the dog-headed Taoist roared. Damn it, it hurt so much. He didn't want to fight anymore because he realized that Lin Xian's physique was really strong. This was the legendary Nine Yang divine body. It was an extremely strong physique and Lin Xian had cultivated it to an extremely high level. Lin Xian laughed. Are your teeth bad? With that, he threw a punch. The dog-headed Taoist quickly took out his iron pot and used it as a shield to defend. With a loud clang, the iron pot shook. He roared and white bones flew out and hit Lin Xian. Lin Xian used his sword energy to block. A hungry dog pounced on its food. The dog-headed Taoist pounced over and pushed Lin Xian to the ground. Then the dog-headed Taoist's paw slapped towards Lin Xian. This paw made Lin Xian feel a sense of danger, because he felt that it was similar to White Yi's paw. If he was hit, his soul would probably be dizzy. So he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of yin-yang energy. It turned into a yin-yang image and rotated to block the paw. With a loud clang, the dog-headed Taoist's paw was pushed back. Then, Lin Xian kicked the dog-headed Taoist and sent him flying. He soared into the sky and activated the yin-yang image, releasing a terrifying yin-yang sword. The sword energy slashed onto the dog-headed Taoist's body, causing flames to dance on his body. He roared crazily. Lin Xian used his powerful sword technique to chase after the dog-headed Taoist. The dog-headed Taoist kept dodging, but some of them still hit him, causing him to cry out in pain. He said, "Woof woof, Grandpa Dog won't fight anymore." He had no choice. His opponent's physique was strong and his sword energy was so terrifying that it could threaten him. Furthermore, the iron pot couldn't cook him. The dog-headed Taoist felt helpless. So you admit defeat? Lin Xian withdrew the yin-yang diagram and asked in a deep voice. The dog-headed Taoist shook his head. Admit defeat? How is that possible? I've only lost to you and not to anyone else. Lord Dog still has the strength to fight. His eyes began to scan the surroundings, and it seemed like he wanted to do something. Lin Xian also had a strange look on his face. He didn't know it could be played like this. As for Xiao Ying and the others who had been eliminated, they were so angry that they almost vomited blood. This dog was too shameless. They had already been eliminated after losing 1 round, but this damn dog was still unwilling to come out and wanted to continue fighting. At this moment, their expressions changed because an earth-shattering sound suddenly erupted in front of them. The battle between the Born Taoism aptitude and the number 1 emissary was over. The number 1 emissary was sent flying backward. A crack appeared on his body, and imperishable blood dripped down. The born Taoism aptitude was extremely terrifying. The great path danced on his body. She took out a heavenly imprint that was as terrifying as a heavenly deity. It seemed to take human form and directly descended. The first emissary screamed as the cracks on his body became even bigger. His body had been pierced through. He had lost. The first emissary had actually been defeated. Countless people were shocked. Was the born Taoism aptitude already so powerful? This was a good opportunity. When the dog-headed Taoist saw this, he let out a cold laugh. With a flash he charged forward. He bit one of the first emissary's arms. The first emissary used disintegration. He felt one of his arms being bitten and dragged into the distance. Damn dog. He roared crazily and wanted to attack the other party. However, that arm was instantly swallowed by the dog-headed Taoist. The dog-headed Taoist's eyes lit up. The imperishable blood was pretty good. On the other side, Yao Guang and Chao Tianxing were fighting, and it was difficult to determine a winner. Chao Tianxing was too fast, and Yao Guang couldn't hurt him. Yao Guang had mastered many ultimate techniques, so he wouldn't be defeated in a short period of time. However, at this moment, the dog-headed Taoist saw that the first emissary's body had been shattered, and he had swallowed a piece of his arm. Yao Guang's eyes also turned red. He roared angrily and directly abandoned Chao Tianxing. He turned to attack the first emissary, wanting to devour his body. When he saw this, the first emissary roared crazily. The imperishable blood surged forth as he tried to recover his body. Everyone became nervous at this moment. If Yao Guang was able to devour the imperishable blood, then he would have an undying body. Who would be his opponent? At this moment, a dragon image descended from the sky and slashed through the sky. It blocked Yao Guang's path. It even forced Yao Guang back. Yao Guang spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. He gritted his teeth and roared. Damned Lin Wuti, you dare to stop me? The one who had attacked was Lin Xian. After Lin Xian blocked his opponent, he laughed coldly. You don't have the chance to devour others in front of me. Also, the first emissary is my opponent. The first emissary took advantage of this opportunity to quickly recover his body. He had lost an arm, but he had also recovered. However, his expression was extremely ugly. First, he had been injured by the innate Tao aptitude, and then his arm had been swallowed by a dog. More importantly, Yao Guang had dared to target him. What made him vomit blood was that the one who had saved him was actually his enemy, Lin Wuti. He had saved him because he wanted to kill him personally. What kind of situation was this? This time he had lost a lot of face. After being slapped in the face by so many people, he tilted his head back and roared, unable to endure it. He stared intently at the dog-headed Taoist, his eyes burning with anger as he charged over. Damn dog, die. On the other side, Yao Guang had also attacked. He couldn't devour the first emissary, but he could devour this dog. This dog had swallowed the imperishable blood's arm, so it definitely had imperishable blood's power. If he tried to devour the dog, he might be able to obtain this power. As such, he was going to charge over. The dog-headed Taoist howled in pain. Damn, you two attacked together and broke the rules. Yao Guang laughed. There were no rules in this battle. The first emissary harumphed coldly. Did you think about the rules when you ambushed me? Kill. When the two of them unleashed their power together, it was extremely terrifying. Although the dog-headed Taoist was terrifying, he couldn't withstand 2 rounds of attacks. In the end, he could only helplessly use his life-saving jade pendant, transform into a streak of white light, and leave. He was eliminated. The dog-headed Taoist was currently in 7th place. After coming out, he gritted his teeth. Damn it, if it was a one-on-one battle, Lord Dog wouldn't be afraid of you. Damn it, you ran fast. The first emissary roared. Yao Guang's expression was even colder. He had missed such a good opportunity. Damn it. There were only 6 people left in the sky. The 6 of them faced each other and didn't attack rashly. They had fought previously, and now they were starting to recover. The scene suddenly became quiet. The people outside were extremely nervous. They knew that this was the calm before the storm. After the silence, there would be an even more terrifying battle. The one with the innate Dao aptitude was the first to stand up. He merged with the innate Dao aptitude and recovered very quickly. She looked at Murong and said, "The seven-colored phoenix will fight with me. Qingcheng, be careful. He shouldn't have any killing intent. Just go all out," Lin Xian said from the side. Chapter 54:10. Countless people were looking forward to the battle between the born Taoism aptitude and Murong Qingcheng. Lin Xian also walked out and stared at the first emissary. It was time to put an end to this. For the first time, her face turned cold. She knew she couldn't wait any longer. Seeing this, the crowd exclaimed again. Oh my god, Lin Wuti was going to fight the first emissary again. It seemed like they were going to have a showdown. The two battles were also very exciting. Murong Qingcheng formed a seal, and a seven-colored phoenix appeared beside her. It was as if she had traveled through time and space. On the other side, the born Taoism aptitude formed a seal with her hand and charged over with supreme power. When the two collided, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. It was as if the world was going to end. The crowd exclaimed, and the older generation experts felt their scalps go numb. They were too powerful. Wherever the two of them passed, the surrounding void was constantly shattered. Nothing could stop them. Although the two of them were women, their auras were extremely terrifying. They were like goddesses that could sweep away everything. On the other side, Lin Xian also made his move. He threw out a punch. Nine Suns' divine fist. Then, a huge crack appeared in the void, and the divine fire on it swept out. It was as if a sun had descended on the world. Slash. The first emissary roared and waved the indestructible sword with terrifying power. It was as if a star had fallen. A casual attack was so terrifying. The sky-shaking sound was heard, and the crowd felt their scalps go numb. What kind of power was this? They couldn't resist such power at all. Thunder King, Xiaoying, and the others were terrified. Fire Qilin. They were also gnashing their teeth. Damn it, these people were too strong. They had surpassed them. Even if they hadn't been eliminated, they couldn't resist. After a few moves, Lin Xian and the first emissary both retreated. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a piercing light. Swordsman? Fine, I'll defeat you in the sword Dao. He also took out the Hellfire Dragon sword, and an extremely terrifying aura appeared on the blade. He slashed out with the Shura sword technique. This was the sword of killing. The first emissary used the indestructible sword technique. The two of them fought, and in the blink of an eye, they had clashed thousands of times. This speed was also very fast, but it was still different from Chao Tianxing's speed. Everyone could see countless afterimages intertwining. It was as if two gods were fighting. Too strong. A fierce battle between dragons and tigers, evenly matched. Both of them were young great emperors. The people of Mount Eternal had gloomy and cold expressions on their faces. They were well aware of how terrifying first-timers were. But now Lin Xian was actually evenly matched with his opponent. This didn't mean that Lin Xian's strength was far beyond their imagination. Damn it, that's impossible. The third emissary clenched his teeth, and the other elders also clenched their fists. They were looking forward to killing the emissary and taking revenge. Wang. 9 stars sword technique. Lin Xian roared as 9 stars revolved behind him. Starlight fell from the sky, sweeping away everything. Lin Xian laughed loudly. Is that all you've got? Mount Eternal couldn't even withstand a single blow. Indestructible shaking the universe. The first emissary roared angrily. An extremely terrifying indestructible qi appeared on his body. It formed a huge mountain that shattered the entire world. The huge mountain descended from the sky, and was about to suppress the entire sky. Seeing this scene, everyone was terrified and in despair because the information was too terrifying. It was as if the real Mount Eternal had arrived. As expected of the first emissary, they could feel that the first emissary was more powerful than all the previous emissaries. Lin Xian roared angrily as the divine flame appeared on his body. At the same time, he used the Great Emperor's divine ability. Black demonic chi surged out, and turned into demonic dragons that roared between heaven and earth. Those were sword chi that connected heaven and earth with supreme killing aura. 81 streaks of sword chi turned into demonic dragons that surged between heaven and earth. They blocked the Black Mount Eternal. Not only that, the Black Mount Eternal was constantly shaking from the attacks. The huge rocks in the forest above all cracked and rolled down. A huge black vortex appeared in the sky. It was beaten into a black hole. Kill. Lin Xian roared angrily and used the Void God finger again, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. 9 streaks of sword chi appeared beside the first emissary in an instant and attacked his vital points. The first emissary roared angrily, "Get lost." He was like an indestructible god. With monstrous power, he slashed at the Void God princes. The two exploded, forming a terrifying light that illuminated everyone so much that they couldn't open their eyes. At this moment, all the spectators were shocked. These two people were really too powerful. "Kid, I'll let you know the true power of indestructibility." The first emissary roared at the sky. The more he fought, the braver he became. His sword chi seemed to have turned into thousands of mountains. It was extremely powerful and fell down. Heavens, Lin Wuti was suppressed. Could it be that he was going to be defeated? It seemed that Mount Eternal was still more powerful. Countless exclamations sounded. Outside, Yen Ruyu and the dark red divine dragon were also nervous. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He waved his hand and struck out a Tai Chi diagram. Yin and Yang sword chi flew out and turned into Yin and Yang gods. He roared at the sky. He opened the sky with both hands and blocked the terrifying sword chi. At the same time, Lin Xian used his Rinnegan. A ray of reincarnation light cut through the void. In an instant, it attacked the first emissary. The first emissary cried out in alarm and hurriedly raised his sword to block. With a clang, he blocked the ray of reincarnation light. However, his body was grabbed by the Yin and Yang gods. With a forceful tug, he was torn into 2 halves. This scene was extremely shocking. The first emissary was injured, and he was seriously injured. Someone cried out in alarm. The elders and emissaries of Mount Eternal all stood up. This was impossible. Lin Wuti could actually injure the first emissary. Ah! The first emissary's cracked body roared at the sky. All the indestructible flames inside swept out and swept across all directions. He forced the Yin and Yang gods back. His broken body healed again, and his eyes became incomparably terrifying. "Aunt, you've completely angered me." A mysterious indestructible rune appeared between his brows. At the same time, a palace appeared behind him. There was sword chi thunder, and flames condensed into a thunder fire palace. The palace bloomed with terrifying and destructive power. When the palace opened, there was a small hall inside. There was a stone tablet on it with 3 words engraved on it: Eternal Hall. Thunderfire Palace, Indestructible Hall. The people from Mount Eternal also cried out in surprise. "Boss, you've even used this kind of divine ability?" It seemed that he was really going to go all out. Lin Wuti had already frightened him to this extent. These people were too shocked. They knew that this was a peerless divine ability. With their boss's strength, it was completely crazy to use it. They all laughed. Lin Wuti was going to die. Although the others didn't know what it was, they could feel a mysterious and terrifying aura coming from the palace. It made their hair stand on end. Chapter 54:11. A mysterious palace appeared in the sky, making everyone curious. What kind of extreme weapon was that? Black Tortoise's expression changed. It was actually such a thing. He could actually summon such a thing. This number 1 emissary was not simple. What was this kid going to do? Was he going to display that kind of power? Brother Annihilation looked at Lin Xian. His eyes flashed. Everyone looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian furrowed his brows as well. He could feel a frightening power. It seemed to be surrounding him. At this moment, the number 1 emissary sneered. "Kid, you're finished." He formed a seal with his palm and accepted my anger. With a roar, the immortal palace rushed out and enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian punched out, but the immortal palace did not even shake. In the next moment he entered the immortal palace. The stone tablet of the immortal palace appeared behind Lin Xian. The indestructible chains wrapped around Lin Xian and nailed him to the stone tablet. Heavens, what was that? Was Lin Wuti sealed? Seeing this scene, countless people exclaimed. Lin Xian shouted coldly, "Get lost." Endless flames appeared on his body. The 9-yang divine fire was extremely strong. It was enough to turn everything into ashes. However, the immortal stone tablet did not even have a crack. Heavens, this was a supreme treasure. Countless people exclaimed. Lin Xian also frowned. At this moment, the Thunder Fire Palace flew over and stopped in front of Lin Xian again. The number 1 emissary stood in the Thunder Fire Palace with a cold expression. "I am the ruler. I can decide your life and death." Lightning strike. With a roar, endless thunder flew out from the palace. Every single one of them was imbued with the power of destruction as they shot straight at Lin Xian. Lin Xian used the 9-yang divine body to block it, but this was the indestructible thunder. It was a power that surpassed everything. Lin Xian's divine body was actually split open. Saint blood dripped down, piercing through heaven and earth. The eternal palace shook violently, but it still firmly suppressed Lin Xian. "Are you hurt?" Yen Ruyu and the others exclaimed. The dark red divine dragon was also gritting its teeth. Damn it, what kind of mystical ability was this? In the distance, Mount Eternal's 3rd emissary sneered. This was an exceptional divine ability. Even the Double Crown King would undoubtedly die after entering. Unless that kid was a Triple Crown champion, he was dead for sure. What? So powerful? The expressions of the Yi and Gu family members changed when they heard this. The people from the Fire Qilin Cave and the 10,000 Dragon Court also cried out in alarm. Was this the peak power of Mount Eternal? He was really too strong. The young geniuses shook their heads. They knew that they were no match for him. Chao Tiansheng, Yao Guang, and the others frowned when they saw this. In the face of such power, the only way was to dodge in advance. Yao Guang's expression was slightly better because it had photon speed. He was confident that he could dodge everything. However, Yao Guang frowned. If he was enveloped, his ending wouldn't be too good, right? He looked into the distance. Lin Wuti, will you die here? 9th Firmament Quasi-Emperor said. You should be prepared. That kid might fail. Because this was an extreme Dao world, he couldn't use an extreme Dao weapon. Without an extreme Dao weapon, he couldn't use the Great Dragon Sword Soul. With the power of the 9-yang divine body and the Rinnegan, there was no way to resist. Eternal Palace and Thunderfire Palace. Yao Guang was surprised. You know the origin of the palace? 9th Firmament Quasi-Emperor nodded. He knew that it was related to the human sovereign of Mount Eternal. The power he left behind surpassed everything. Lin Wuti couldn't resist it. Unless an extreme Dao weapon appeared. I know. Yao Guang's face sank. It seemed that Lin Xian was finished. He had to make preparations. When a thunder struck Lin Xian felt a destructive power. This power was too shocking, and the indestructible stone tablet was suppressing him. He was unable to open the sword world. Mount Eternal actually possessed such terrifying power. Lin Xian was shocked. He knew that he was careless. This was the power of a human sovereign. Previously, when he killed the 2nd emissary, the power of a human sovereign had appeared. However, the sword world was directly destroyed, causing Lin Xian to think that the power of the immortal sovereign was only SOSO. But now he realized that he was wrong. This power definitely surpassed that of a saint. Could it be that the immortal sovereign was a quasi-emperor? This kind of power was indeed terrifying. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, he couldn't contend against a quasi-emperor now. However, the only fortunate thing was that the quasi-emperor didn't come personally. It was just a rune left behind by a quasi-emperor. Although it was terrifying, it wasn't impossible to resist. Lin Xian shouted angrily. He used the 9-yang divine body to the extreme, and the indestructible chains on his body swayed rapidly. He seemed to want to break apart the sky and tear everything apart. When the 1st emissary saw this, he snorted coldly. Want to leave? It was useless. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of thunder bolts descended together. These thunderbolts were extremely terrifying. They pierced through Lin Xian's body. Endless cracks appeared on Lin Xian's body. Blood dyed his body red. When everyone saw this scene, they all shook their heads. Lin Wuti was finished. The faces of the people from the Divine Union also turned pale with despair. No. Brother Xian. Murong Qingqing, who was in the middle of the battle, sensed the scene and her expression changed. Because she was too excited, she made a mistake and was sent flying by the palm of the born Taoism aptitude. She vomited blood, dyeing the void red. The born Taoism aptitude frowned and retracted her palm. She didn't make a move. She looked into the distance and said, "You can't use your full strength in this battle. Let's stop for now. After Lin Wuti's battle is over, our battle will continue." Murong Qingqing looked at the other party and said gratefully, "Thank you." She went to the side and watched the battle nervously. "Brother Xian, you must hold on." On the other side, the beautiful eyes of the born Taoism aptitude flickered. "Lin Xian, is this really the end of your path?" After hundreds of inextinguishable thunderbolts, Lin Xian's nine-yang divine body was severely injured. However, he still couldn't escape. He used the Eye of Reincarnation. 6 reincarnations. The world shook rapidly. The power of reincarnation wanted to destroy everything. However, it was useless. This time it was a flame attack. The inextinguishable flames emerged from the Thunderfire Palace. Lin Xian's injuries worsened. Ha ha ha. The first emissary looked up and laughed. "Lin Wuti, you dare to be invincible? You are no match for me at all. Today, I will use your head as a sacrifice to the second emissary." His eyes were filled with a terrifying killing intent. He stood in the Thunderfire Palace like a supreme deity. "This is the last attack. Lin Wuti, I will destroy your soul with this attack." Thunder and fire intertwined. The two inextinguishable powers fused together. They formed a sword of thunder and fire. No, it was 72 swords of thunder and fire that rotated between heaven and earth. As long as these swords pierced through Lin Xian, then Lin Xian would really die. Everyone became nervous. Lin Xian's eyes also erupted with an extremely cold light. Chapter 54:12. In the face of this final attack, Lin Xian's eyes shone with a shocking light. He knew that he couldn't wait any longer. He had to use another kind of power. It wasn't that he didn't have any tricks up his sleeve, but he wanted to use that power at the last moment. He didn't expect that it would be brought forward. The power he wanted to use wasn't an extreme weapon, nor was it the Great Dragon Sword Soul, because these two powers were suppressed in the extreme Tao world. However, he also obtained a treasure, the Heavens of the Battle Map. Lin Xian had cultivated the Heavens of the Battle Map before, but he hadn't used it yet. Now he was finally going to use it. "Number 1 emissary, you're very strong. To be able to injure me so severely. I admit that the power of Mount Eternal is very terrifying. But it's impossible for you to kill me. You can't defeat me at all. Let me show you what true invincibility is." Lin Xian's voice rang out. It resounded in all directions. Countless people were in an uproar. Lin Wuti was still so confident. Could it be that he still had some tricks up his sleeve? The people of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty sneered. What kind of joke was this? He couldn't use an extreme weapon, so he was definitely going to die. The people of the Gu family also snorted. He was still stubborn even when he was about to die. The number 1 emissary laughed loudly. "If you still have any tricks up your sleeve, then take them out. Otherwise, I'll see how you die." He waved his hand, and 72 lightning and fire swords flew out. This was a sure kill power. Facing such a dangerous attack, Lin Xian's body emitted endless light. It spun quickly in front of him, and condensed into a battle map. The Heavens of the Battle Map directly charged out, and collided with the 72 lightning and fire swords. An earth-shattering sound rang out, followed by a scream. A figure flew out. Had the victor been decided? Countless people widened their eyes. In their opinion, Lin Xian was definitely going to lose. But when they saw that the one who flew out and screamed was the number 1 emissary, they were all stunned. How was this possible? These people were crazy. One had to know that Lin Xian had been suppressed by the Thunderfire Palace and the Eternal Hall, and his divine body had been injured by the lightning. Blood splattered across the 9 heavens. Next, he would be pierced by the 72 swords and eliminated. But why was the number 1 emissary injured? What other trump cards does Lin Xian have? At this moment, everyone was stunned. Everyone from Mount Eternal was stunned. Even Yao Guang, Chao Tiansheng, and the others were stunned. This was completely different from what they had imagined. Older brother Xian, Morong Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time he was puzzled. What exactly did Lin Xian use? The indestructible palace appeared amidst the light that filled the sky. At this moment, the indestructible chains had already been shattered. Lin Xian stood there with a battle map in front of him that kept spinning. That diagram was extremely terrifying. The pores of the born great path aptitude shrank rapidly. What a terrifying power. As a Tao body, she had fused with the heavenly Tao. Now he could feel how terrifying the firmament battle map was. Yao Guang's expression instantly darkened. This kind of power was something he had never seen before. It was not a Taiji diagram but a new kind of power. This Lin Wudi had actually obtained such a terrifying trump card. If it wasn't for the fact that his life was in danger this time, he probably wouldn't have used it. If he had encountered Lin Xian before, would he have been able to resist such a firmament battle map? Lin Xian held the firmament battle map in his hand and walked out like a god of war. He looked ahead disdainfully. At this moment, his body emitted crackling sounds. The indestructible battle armor covered his body and quickly healed his injuries. His divine body healed, and divine fire surged into the sky. He looked ahead and said in a deep voice, "I told you that you would be the one to lose." The number 1 emissary spat out a large mouthful of blood. Endless cracks appeared on his body. The destruction of the 72 thunder fire swords had already caused him to suffer a backlash. In addition, he was hit by the firmament battle map and was severely injured. He was unwilling to accept this. He roared crazily. "Impossible! How could you destroy the indestructible palace? The Thunder Fire Palace and the indestructible palace? What kind of power was this? It was beyond his own power. How could the other party resist it? What exactly was that battle map?" Outside, the people of the Monarch clan were stunned. The elders of the Eternal Mountain were also stunned. The people of the Purple Mansion and the Thousand Dragon Imperial Court were gnashing their teeth. Lin Xian had another trump card. Moreover, it was an extremely powerful one. The people of the Divine Union were all laughing. Great, Boss Lin was indeed strong. Lin Xian walked forward like a god of war. "Let me show you what true invincibility is." The battle map in his hand danced and directly attacked the number 1 emissary. The number 1 emissary was sent flying. The number 1 emissary roared crazily and used the indestructible sword to resist. It was like a true dragon, swallowing thousands of miles. However, it couldn't stop the firmament battle map at all. This was too terrifying. This was an exceptional mystique obtained from a page of the heavenly book. Although the number 1 emissary was strong, he was also being beaten back. He could only summon the Thunderfire Palace and the Indestructible Palace to defend in front of him. However, in the end, the Thunderfire Palace and the Indestructible Palace were destroyed by the firmament battle map. This time, the number 1 emissary's body was refined into a bloody mist. He screamed miserably. Lin Xian chased him between heaven and earth. He kept escaping, but his injuries were getting worse. Lin Xian was too strong. The more he fought, the more powerful he became. In the end, he could only crush his protective jade pendant and escape. Lin Xian stood in the field, the sea of blood surging around him. He was like a god as he sneered. Mount Eternal was nothing more than this. Who else would want to fight with him? At this moment, he displayed a strong power that shocked everyone. He was too strong. Lin Wudi had actually eliminated the number 1 emissary. Oh my god, he might be able to fight for the championship this time. Lin Xian's divine body, Rinnegan Eye, and super strong sword techniques were extremely terrifying. The number 1 emissary wasn't weak either. The indestructible power was an existence that couldn't be killed, and had the indestructible rune. It was said that no one below the Triple Crown King could resist the power that was summoned at the end. However, at the most critical moment, Lin Xian actually took out a battle map and reversed the situation. It was really shocking. Yao Guang's face darkened. She felt the danger. Chao Tianqing's eyes also flashed. As expected of the Lin Wuti he knew. Back then, he knew that this person was definitely not a fish in a pond. He would definitely soar to the sky. Now that so many years had passed, he was indeed strong. The born Dao aptitude was also surprised. The Dao of the Heavens diagram? What a terrifying theurgy. She looked at Morong Qingcheng and said, Lin Xian is no longer in danger. We can continue the previous battle. Morong Qingcheng also smiled. She was completely relieved that Lin Xian was no longer in danger. He nodded and said, Thank you for giving me time before. I will do my best from now on. There was no enmity between the two of them, nor was there any resentment. They only had a competition for the great Dao. The two heavens chosen once again engaged in a fierce battle, but Lin Xian was focused on Yao Guang. It's time to deal with you. Chapter 54:13. Alcade's pupils constricted, and he immediately used the void to escape. The place where he had been standing was torn to shreds. How terrifying. Countless people were stunned. Even someone as powerful as the Alcade realm could only dodge and not face it head-on. The extreme-grade weapons in the sky, the black tortoise and the Aquarius of life, were shocked. They were even more shocked than the others. The Heavens battle map. He actually had something like this? How did he get it? It seemed that he had obtained the Heavenly Book of One Leaf. He had been there before. This youth's luck was quite good. He had even obtained the Heavens battle map. One leaf of Heavenly Book was in their extreme grade realm. How could they not know? However, that place was impossible for ordinary people to reach. Even if they went there, they wouldn't be able to obtain the Heavens battle map, because there were even more frightening existences there. However, Lin Xian had actually obtained it, and even managed to successfully cultivate it. This kind of luck surprised the extreme-grade weapons, and they became even more curious about Lin Xian. The destructive spear frowned. If this kid was on our side, then it would be fine. But if he was on the other side, then he would be in danger. This was a variable. The black tortoise, however, laughed. I think you're overthinking it. If he was able to obtain a Heavenly Book of One Leaf of Heavenly Book, then he should be on our side. The Aquarius of life nodded. Yes, that's right. I think so too. Let's see if this kid can reach the final step. The extreme-grade weapons continued to watch the battle silently, but the battle below was extremely frightening. It was a battle between the innate Dao body and Morong Qingcheng. Morong Qingcheng attacked with all her strength, but the innate Dao body was too strong. She was suppressed. She would be defeated within 100 moves, but she wouldn't give up so easily. On the other side, Alcade's expression was extremely ugly. The Heavens battle map in the opponent's hand was a threat to her life. Moreover, the opponent had attacked her directly after defeating the first emissary, giving her no time to prepare. Lin Xian, are you sure you want to attack me? Alcade said coldly. Lin Xian harumphed coldly. Nonsense. Another Heavens battle map, drawing a streak of light as it charged forward. This time, it covered the entire sky. At the same time, Lin Xian opened his Rinnegan. Even if the opponent used the Void Divine ability again, he wouldn't be able to escape. Indeed, the light-shaking realm cultivator immediately activated a Void-type theurgy art, but Lin Xian was even faster. Another strike of the Heavens battle diagram. A terrifying battle intent erupted from it, and turned into a god of war. Zhan Tu charged over. Yao Guang roared. The Nine Heavens immortal king released an illusion. He faced the sky and roared, resisting Lin Xian's palm. With a hong sound, he was blasted backwards, directly tearing apart the earth. An endless cloud of dust filled the air. Everyone was stunned. A light-shaking realm cultivator had been sent flying. Are you hurt? When the people from the Z government saw this, their expressions became ugly. The first emissary gritted his teeth. He had already lost. To be honest, his mind was completely blank right now. He had never imagined that he would actually lose. He was only ranked 6th. Damn it. One had to know that her goal was to be number 1, to be the champion. Now she wasn't even in the top 5. Damn it. Lin Wuti. He was going crazy with anger. He wanted to kill his opponent, but the heavens battle diagram in his opponent's hand was too terrifying. Especially now, when he saw Yao Guang being sent flying, he didn't know why, but his heart seemed to have calmed down a little. Yao Guang had swallowed so many experts, but wasn't she still sent flying in an instant? Damn it. Yao Guang roared and charged out from the ground. Endless primal chaos aura spread out from his body. The terrifying thing was that his power could shatter heaven and earth, as if he was going to split open the universe. Everyone was shocked. The power of primal chaos had appeared. This was the strongest power that Yao Guang had swallowed so far. Why do I feel like he's a soul body? Damn it. This guy won't become the second primal chaos body, right? There were also people from the primal chaos race who came to watch the battle. When they saw this scene, they were so angry that they vomited blood. Their soul sky had died and was swallowed by this brat. Damn it. After Yao Guang displayed the power of primal chaos, she became incomparably terrifying. Heaven and earth cracked. Lin Xian sneered. It seems that your primal chaos body isn't strong enough, because compared to the primal chaos body, you're a little weaker. As he spoke, he waved the battle map again and charged over. Yao Guang roared and fought against the primal chaos body. The two collided, but he was still suppressed. After 3 moves, he was sent flying again, and a large crack appeared on his body. The heavenly battle map split him in half. Lin Xian pursued with the heavenly battle map in his hand. He was like a god descending to suppress his opponent. Not good. The faces of the people from the Purple Mansion changed drastically. How dare you? The mansion master roared crazily, but he was outside the extreme path realm and couldn't stop him. Yao Guang's pupils shrank. Damn it. What should he do? At this moment he was really stunned. The 9 firmament quasi-emperor in his mind also gritted his teeth. Run. Don't fight him head-on. In the extreme path realm, his quasi-emperor power couldn't appear. Otherwise, he would be killed by the extreme path realm weapons in the sky. Yao Guang fled quickly, but Lin Xian's Rinnegan could always lock onto him. After 5 moves, she was in danger again. She was about to be sealed. At this moment, the cry of a phoenix came from afar. Lin Xian's palm stopped. He didn't attack Yao Guang again. Instead, he turned his head and saw Murong Qingqing retreating, blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. The others also cried out one after another. Victory and defeat had been decided. The 7-colored phoenix was defeated. She stood there and didn't attack again. She said, "You lost." Murong Qingqing sighed and nodded. "You are very strong. I am not your opponent." This time, she fought very happily with the innate Dao body because she had used up all her tricks. However, she was still not her opponent. She lost wholeheartedly. Lin Xian also flew over and said, "Qingqing, are you okay?" "I'm fine." Qingqing shook her head and laughed bitterly. "Brother Xian, I lost. Next, it's up to you. You must win." Lin Xian gave her a bottle of pills and said, "Don't worry. Leave the rest to me. Go outside the valley and rest." Murong Qingqing flew outside the extreme path realm. Lin Xian took a deep breath and stared at Yao Guang again. Yao Guang's expression turned cold. Lin Xian sneered. "You can't even withstand a single blow. You are no longer my opponent." He wasn't in a hurry to suppress Yao Guang, because Yao Guang couldn't escape. He planned to challenge the innate Dao body first and then fight Chao Tiansheng. When everyone was no longer his opponent, he would be the real champion. He looked at the innate Dao body and said, "Take a rest. You rest and recover first. I will fight with Chao Tiansheng first. After that, I will fight with you." After speaking, Lin Xian flew over and looked at Chao Tiansheng. He said, "Old friend, we meet again. I didn't expect you to be from the ancient light race." Chapter 54:14. The battle between Lin Xian and Chao Tiansheng shocked countless people once again. Yao Guang heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was no longer in danger of being eliminated. However, his expression was extremely ugly. The fact that Lin Xian hadn't attacked him meant that he didn't take him seriously at all. Damn it, what was his status now? What was his status? He had devoured so many experts that he even possessed the power of the primal chaos. Who would dare look down on him? However, Lin Xian was looking down on him, and even ignoring him. This difference was hard for him to accept. Despicable Lin Wudi, one day I will personally get rid of you. Yao Guang quickly formed hand seals. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to recover from his injuries. On the other side, the Khanate constitution was also absorbing the power of the Great Path to recover. The other people were also in an uproar. Lin Wudi was too strong at the moment. First, he had defeated the first emissary and injured Yao Guang, almost eliminating him. Now he was going to challenge Chao Tianxing and fight with the Khanate constitution. He wanted to sweep through the 8 desolations single-handedly. If he defeated all his opponents, he would become the champion and be invincible. Invincible Lin. Was the name of invincibility going to become a reality? Many people were excited. The people of the Divine Union were looking forward to it. On the other hand, the people of the Purple Mansion were gnashing their teeth. Yao Guang's injury made them nervous. Now they were praying that the ancient light race could defeat Lin Wudi. Chao Tianxing also stepped forward and said, I will also go all out in this battle. As soon as he said this, the void around Lin Xian suddenly split open. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He wanted to defend himself, but it was too late. He was sent flying by this punch. A portion of his bones were broken. The surrounding people were also stunned. They only reacted when Lin Xian retreated. What had just happened? God, did Chao Tianxing attack? I actually didn't see it. They realized that if they had faced Chao Tianxing, they would have been killed in one move before they knew anything. The older powerhouses sighed. The younger generation would surpass them in time. Lin Xian's body emitted crackling sounds as his bones recovered. At the same time, a piercing light burst out from his eyes. He was indeed from the ancient Light Clan. Such speed was indeed shocking. He used the 9-yang divine body to the extreme, and at the same time opened the Rinnegan, covering 8 directions. He had to be careful when dealing with this kind of speed. This was another top-notch expert. Of all the martial arts in the world, only speed was invincible. Lin Xian took a deep breath, waved the heavens battle map, and charged out. A crack appeared in the void as it soared into the sky. It was as if a giant dragon was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws in the sky as it charged towards Chao Tianxing. Chao Tianxing dodged in an instant and said, Lin Xian, I admit that you are very powerful, but you can't keep up with my speed. As soon as he finished speaking, he didn't seem to move, but he had already appeared in over 100 different locations. He had punched out tens of millions of times, and only the most powerful experts could see it. The other double championship winners didn't seem to be able to see it. The Thunder King was stunned. Was this the ancient light tribe? As a Thunder King, the speed of his thunder was incomparably fast. But now he realized that he couldn't see it at all. The first emissary also frowned tightly. He could only feel a blur of this kind of speed. If he encountered it, it would be very troublesome. He could only stay in the Thunder Fire Palace. It was really too difficult to injure the other party. Sure enough, after several consecutive attacks, his heaven's battle map couldn't hit the other party. Although Lin Xian's Rinnegan could see the other party, his body's speed couldn't keep up. Lin Xian launched a reincarnation attack, the heavenly path of reincarnation. A huge hand of the heavens appeared in the sky and fell mercilessly, but it was still too slow. Lin Xian's gaze seemed to be unable to keep up with Chao Tianxing's speed. The Light Tribe was indeed the fastest in the world. The other spectators were also amazed. Even those from the Emperor clan were surprised. No one could match such speed. At the same time, they were also puzzled. The Light Tribe was so terrifying. How was the Light Tribe destroyed back then? They were even completely wiped out. Just what kind of person could have done this? Could it be a living great emperor who attacked the Light Tribe back then? Lin Xian was attacked. Thousands of punches landed on his body, and they were all focused on one place. Even Lin Xian with the 9-yang divine body couldn't withstand it. Cracks appeared on his body again, and he retreated. The heavens battle map seemed to be useless. The Yi family members shook their heads and sighed. Young Master Lin was in danger. In the world of martial arts, only speed was unbeatable. With this kind of speed, he was already in an invincible position. Unless his speed could keep up, but it was too difficult. What a pity. On the other side, the elders of the Kuanping clan also shook their heads. Lin Wudi took out the Heaven's battle map, defeated the first emissary, and injured Yao Guang. But was he going to be defeated by Chao Tianxing? There was probably no one who could contend against Chao Tianxing's extreme speed. They couldn't even suppress him. Chao Tianxing was in an invincible position. Could it be that he would be the final champion? Sighs could be heard one after another. The people on Purple's side looked gloomy. The people of the Dao One school also frowned. The born Taoism aptitude didn't seem to have a good way to suppress this ancient speed. After throwing a few more punches, Lin Xian was pushed back. Chao Tianxing said, "Although you have the Heaven's battle map, you can't do anything to me. Even if you use the Heaven's battle map to protect yourself, it will only be a draw. So if you want to defeat me, use your other power. If you don't, you won't be able to win this battle." He was right. Lin Xian frowned slightly. He put away the Heaven's battle map. Even the flame aura on his body disappeared. What was going on? The others looked at him in confusion. It seemed that Lin Wudi had given up resisting. The Heaven's battle map was so powerful, but he didn't use it. Could it be that he had a stronger trump card? His stronger trump card should be the sky-swallowing jar, but he couldn't take it out. Lin Xian didn't take out the sky-swallowing jar. Instead, he took out a sword. It was a Hell Divine sword. Lin Xian stood there, surrounded by sword aura. The sword aura protected his body. Lin Xian said, "Next, I will fight with you with the sword." He was a peerless swordsman. At this moment, he was going to use the most primitive sword technique to fight with his opponent. Sword technique? It's useless. He can't cut me at all. Yes, his attack power was strong, far beyond that of his peers. Even the divine ancestor was no match for him. But if he couldn't hit the enemy, what was the use of a strong attack? Chao Tianxing also shook his head. It's useless. Next, I'm going to use hundreds of millions of attacks. Be careful. After saying that, he raised his palm, and there was endless light shining on his fist. It was his fist, which was spinning at high speed. It was extremely fast. Chapter 54:15. A ray of light lit up between heaven and earth. Then everyone couldn't see anything. They only heard a voice. It seemed that they all remembered at the same time that this was the 100 million punches. The Light Clan's peerless divine ability. It's over. That Lin Wudi is in danger. That's right. Even if he didn't lose the first time, he wouldn't be able to block such a punch on the second day. It seemed that the outcome was destined. Brother Xian, Morong Qingqing and the others all became nervous. The first emissary snorted coldly. "When you lose and come outside, I'll teach you a lesson." He planned to make his move here. The others all became nervous. Would Lin Xian be defeated by this punch? The punch landed on Lin Xian's protective sword energy, causing it to shake violently. Next, a crack appeared on the protective sword energy. Then it spread all over his body. The protective sword chi was instantly shattered. At this time, Lin Xian also made his move. The shattered sword chi seemed to have turned into thousands of azure dragons. They rushed out in an instant. At the same time, Lin Xian's sword technique also rushed over. Countless sword chi turned into a sea of swords and swept out. It also seemed to have turned into a sword that swept between heaven and earth. Clang! A thunderous sound rang out between heaven and earth, and the most dazzling light erupted. It was the great Tao waving. Everyone closed their eyes at this moment. This light was too bright. Many people's eyes were bleeding. The people outside were also shocked. Did he block it? Impossible. If this punch hit his body, Lin Wudi would definitely be torn apart. However, when the bright light disappeared, they found that Lin Xian's body didn't shatter. Instead, Chao Tianxing's fist was knocked back. How was this possible? He blocked it. How did he do it? Everyone was stunned. The people from the Great Emperor clan couldn't believe it. The light-shaking realm was shocked. The pupils of the born Taoism aptitude also shrank. The first emissary's expression became extremely ugly. His opponent actually blocked it. Chao Tianxing was also surprised. He felt that his fist was numb. He couldn't even use his strength. The attack just now was too sharp. Could his opponent keep up with his speed? It was unbelievable. He didn't believe it. Unless an ancient member of the Light Clan walked out, no one could keep up with its speed. Everyone looked at Lin Xian in confusion. Lin Xian held the Hell's Sword in his hand, the corners of his mouth raised. Of all the martial arts in the world, only speed was unbreakable, and there was nothing it could not overcome. You have the fastest speed, but I have the strongest attack. The sword intent on Lin Xian's body continued to erupt, causing the entire world to shake. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. Even though they were so far away, they felt that the sword chi was going to tear their bodies apart. The few extreme weapons in the sky were also astonished. This was the strongest defensive power in the world, the Great Dragon Sword. It was too inconceivable. The Destruction Spear was shocked. In our extreme Dao world, it was impossible to use the power of an extreme Dao weapon. The Great Dragon Sword was also a power that surpassed the Saint Realm, so it would also be suppressed here. He didn't summon the Great Dragon Sword, but he was able to unleash such power just from within his body. It seemed that he had already fused with the Great Dragon Sword soul. This little fellow was really not simple. The black tortoise beside him also kept nodding. Extreme speed and the strongest attack. This time there would be a show to watch. Damn it, this Lin Wudi. When Yao Guang saw this scene, he gritted his teeth. He felt a sense of danger. He felt that whether it was the strongest speed or the most terrifying attack, he seemed to be unable to defeat them. He was actually suppressed by two people. Damn it. Could it be that he had no chance of becoming the champion this time? No. He was unwilling to accept this. All these years he had been hiding from place to place, like a rat crossing the street, only able to walk in the dark. Because he secretly devoured the corpses of others and snatched their bloodlines. He would become the enemy of the world. But now that he had grown up, he dared to challenge the world. He was no longer afraid of others. He wanted to walk in the light. But in front of him, there were two people who had surpassed him, and he might even be hunted down. He was unwilling to accept this. He must become the champion. Thinking of this, Yao Guang sat down cross-legged. A black vortex appeared behind him, and a figure emerged from it. It was a withered figure, like a mummy. Most of the body was covered in white bones. However, there was a small part of the body that was intact, and there was even a hidden chaotic aura surging on it. This scene was hidden by Yao Guang in an instant. He continued to absorb the chaotic body. He had already absorbed the chaotic body from before, and there was only a little left. Once he completely absorbed it, his strength would not just increase by a small amount. It would increase by a large amount, because it would turn into a second chaotic body. Previously, he was prepared to absorb it after the dragon transformation battle. But now, it seemed that he could not wait any longer. He had to break through to the chaotic body at the last moment. Only then could he compete with others. Yao Guang formed a seal with his palms and absorbed like crazy, using the demonic sky-devouring technique to the extreme. Of course, the black vortex had already disappeared, and he could not attract anyone's attention now. As expected, no one was paying attention to it. Because everyone's attention was attracted by the battle in front of them. Only speed could not be defeated, and indestructible. These two extremely terrifying powers collided in heaven and earth. As for which one was stronger, it would depend on their own strength. The laws of heaven and earth were vast. Sword chi soared into the sky. Everyone could only hear a series of explosions, and the entire sky was completely shattered. This was the extreme path world. In this world, even the divine ancestor was suppressed. However, these two people seemed to have entered a realm where no one could stop them. It was really too terrifying. The emperor race were also shocked. Even the emperor's son would not be able to compete with these two people. Both of them had the potential to become the new great emperor. Another intense collision. Yao Guang's expression was extremely serious. I did not expect you to be able to fight me to this extent. You can actually restrain my extreme speed. That is really surprising. He also knew that Lin Xian had extremely strong combat strength, but this combat strength was too strong. It was actually indestructible. Next, I will use my fastest speed. If you can block it, Then this battle will be considered your win. The fastest speed? Lin Xian took a deep breath and put away the Hellfire Dragon sword. He said, "All right, I will also let you feel an even stronger indestructible." Lin Wuti put away his sword. What was he trying to do? Was he going to fight barehanded? If that was the case, his offensive strength would be weakened. The surrounding people were very puzzled. The Yi family was puzzled, and the Divine Union was also surprised. Chao Tiansheng also frowned. He did not know what the other party was doing, but he could not care less. Chapter 54:16. Luminous Shadow. His speed was pushed to the limit. Everyone saw Lin Xian put away his sword as though he had given up. How was he going to block it? Was Lin Wuti going to lose this battle? Many people exclaimed. The people from the Divine Union also closed their eyes. Lin Xian's expression was solemn. He had put away the Hell Sword, but that didn't mean that he had admitted defeat. He was going to use an even stronger mystique. At this moment, he stood tall as the sword aura on his body surged into the sky, turning into a divine sword. He said, "I am a dragon." With a roar, he rushed over. At this moment, he seemed to have turned into a dragon sword. It was terrifying. Heavens, no way. Had he turned into a sword? Countless people exclaimed. The born Taoism aptitude was shocked. Alcade also opened his eyes. When he saw this scene, his pupils shrank. The shocking battle caused the void to shatter continuously. A terrifying aura engulfed everything. At this moment, everyone was shocked. They couldn't calm down for a long time. Lin Xian seemed to have turned into a divine sword at this moment. In the end, who was stronger? They were looking forward to it. When the divine radiance in the sky slowly disappeared, they saw the two of them standing there. Chao Tianxing's face was pale. A sword mark had appeared on his body, and sacred blood dripped down instantly. Chao Tianxing was injured. Everyone exclaimed. Everyone cried out in surprise. This was the limit of speed. The luminous shadow couldn't dodge this sword? The born Taoism aptitude was also shocked. It was invincible. The only way to defeat it was to break it. You actually injured me, Chao Tianxing. His eyebrows were tightly knitted together. He could not believe it. Had his speed been broken? That was too shocking. You have won this battle. He retreated but didn't leave. Instead, he started to recover from his injuries. It was clear that he could continue to fight. Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. He had to admit that Chao Tianxing's extreme speed was definitely one of the strongest mystiques he had ever seen. This time, he had used his strongest swordsmanship to injure his opponent. He was one step closer to becoming the champion. Next, he would challenge the born Taoism aptitude. Lin Xian sat down cross-legged and quickly recovered. Finally, he opened his eyes and looked forward again. He looked at the one with the born Taoism aptitude. The one with born Taoism aptitude also stood up and said in a deep voice, "It was time to fight." Everyone became excited again. Lin Wuti continued to fight with experts and defeated a group of them. If he could defeat someone with born Taoism aptitude, no one would be able to challenge him. In that case, it was very likely that the other party would become the champion. What would happen in this battle? As an ancient member of the Light Clan, Chao Tianxing possessed the fastest speed. As for the born Taoism aptitude, it was the legendary Great Path aptitude. It should have possessed the strongest Great Path. He didn't know if this super powerful Great Tao, or this terrifying attack would be more terrifying. Naturally, he didn't dare to be careless. She formed a seal with her palm, and 1,000 laws revolved around her. Then she slapped out with her palm. Wherever the Tao seal passed, nothing could stop it. It was as if it could shatter heaven and earth. Lin Xian struck out with his sword again. The collision between the two set off a monstrous storm. After this exchange, they were evenly matched. Lin Xian did not stop. He attacked continuously, and the sword chi became more and more terrifying. At the same time, he used his earth magic, the demonic seal. He struck out and collided with the Tao seal. The two seals shattered the sky and the earth. Lin Xian felt his arm go numb. As expected of someone with a Great Path aptitude, it was really terrifying. His opponent's great path was indeed the most powerful one he had ever seen. The one with the born Taoism aptitude was also surprised. Previously, she only saw Lin Xian's strength in battle. However, fighting with Lin Xian felt different. He was too strong, like a ferocious beast that could not be defeated. She took a deep breath and formed the heavenly path seal. She formed a seal with her palm, and a seal appeared in the sky and fell mercilessly. Lin Xian struck out with the demonic fist. A black fist rushed into the sky and blocked the attack. At the same time, the Azura sword technique appeared and disappeared mysteriously. The sword rose like a dragon and instantly tore apart the other party's great path aura. This sword cleaved the entire sky apart. At the same time, Lin Xian was stunned. The others also exclaimed in surprise. It was so beautiful. It was the born Taoism aptitude from before. It was extremely mysterious and surrounded by the great path. No one could see the other party's true appearance. Now Lin Xian had split the other party's great path and finally revealed her true appearance. It was a stunning woman, exceptionally exquisite. Lin Xian was also stunned when he saw the other party, because he really knew her. It was someone he had not seen for a long time, and he knew her from the quintessential world. Zhong Lingxiu. Back then, she entered the house of extraordinary warriors with him, and they even fought. Back then, Zhong Lingxiu's great path was extremely extraordinary. He did not expect her to have the born Taoism aptitude. Lin Xian was amazed. The quintessential world was indeed one of the two most mysterious worlds in the universe. It had produced many genius powerhouses. He walked out from there. Yi Wudao, Murong Qingcheng, Yan Rui, and Yao Guang all came from the quintessential world. Now there was another Zhong Lingxiu. It was really incredible. No wonder it was called the Source Planet. I didn't expect it to be you. It's really been a long time. Lin Xian did not attack. Instead, he said with a smile. The great path on Zhong Lingxiu's body slowly healed again, covering her face. She said, "Yes, it's been a long time. I didn't expect your sword technique to split my great path. However, you have to be careful now because I'm going to get serious." As soon as her voice fell, the laws on her body suddenly erupted like a 100,000 volcano, sweeping across the 9 heavens. Her palm shot out like a divine king, flickering light and passing shadows as she charged at Lin Xian. The power was indeed much stronger than before. Lin Xian also let out a long roar. Six-path fist. The reincarnation power in his eyes erupted. Reincarnation human Tao. The power of the 6 paths was extremely terrifying, as if it could reincarnate everything. It collided with the other party's divine seal. Every strike was earth-shattering. The spectators were even more shocked. The previous battle between Lin Xian and Chao Tianxing was indeed terrifying. However, Chao Tianxing's speed was too fast and they could not see many of his skills clearly. They could not even see them. However, it was different now. The born Taoism aptitude was not fast, but the great path was too exquisite. Those older divine ancestors could not help but admit their inferiority. The other young geniuses, including the crown prince, were all shocked. Although they had mastered the great emperor's skills, the other party's great path was extremely terrifying. Some of the great emperor's skills even surpassed theirs. It was not that the great emperor's skills were weak, but their own understanding of the great path was not comparable to the born Taoism aptitude. 5 elements Tao. At this moment, Zhong Lingxiu waved her hand and performed the most basic 5 elements Tao. The 5 elements world collided with the 6 paths of reincarnation in the sky, and it was not inferior. The 5 elements world and the metal world turned into endless weapons and scattered down. Chapter 54:17. The world of metal charged over with incomparable sharpness. The world of fire also swept across the 9 heavens. Lin Xian used the reincarnation tunnel to form the most powerful earth shield to defend. At this moment, the world of water, world of earth, and world of wood also charged over. Lin Xian used the heavenly path of reincarnation and the human path to resist. Only 3 of his 6 paths of reincarnation could be used. The other 3 were illusory. After all, he had only condensed 1 Rinnegan. However, the power of reincarnation was too terrifying. 3 paths of reincarnation blocked the other party's world of 5 elements. It was too powerful. The surrounding people were shocked. It was just a world of 5 elements. They probably couldn't fight against it. Among them, there were people from the 5 Elements sect. After they saw it, they were shocked. Perhaps even their grand ancestor couldn't use such a perfect world of 5 elements. This Lin Wudi was really powerful. He could actually block the world of 5 elements with one eye. His Rinnegan was too terrifying. Exclamations came one after another. Many princes and double crown kings were jealous. Zhong Lingxiu was also amazed. As expected of the legendary Rinnegan. However, try my world of 5 elements and one. As she said that, she formed a seal with her palms. In an instant, the world of 5 elements merged. This wasn't a simple fusion. There were 5 worlds drawn into one. The power was more than doubled. It directly shattered the world of 6 paths of reincarnation. The phantoms of the 6 worlds in the sky slowly disappeared. The world of 5 elements merged and charged towards Lin Xian. No way. Was this the power of the born Taoism aptitude? The fusion of the great path in her hand was as simple as drinking water. Many experts of the older generation were dumbfounded. They couldn't help it. They had comprehended the great path for their entire lives, but they still couldn't understand it. However, these problems were too simple for Zhong Lingxiu. She could do it with a wave of her hand. The world of 6 paths was broken. Lin Wudi was in danger. Many people were surprised. However, an extremely cold light burst out from Lin Xian's eyes. He shouted angrily and slapped out with his palm. On his palm, an extremely terrifying sword qi appeared as if it had turned into a mountain of 5 elements. Was he going to use the power of 5 elements to resist? Everyone was shocked. No, it wasn't the 5 elements mountain. It was the divine magnetic mountain. The experts of the Yuhua immortal dynasty also came to watch. When they saw this scene, they exclaimed in shock once more. An elemental magnet mountain blocked the elemental world, and the two clashed again in the air. Even the elemental magnet mountain wanted to suppress the 5 elements world. What was going on? Everyone was stunned. Was Lin Xian's palm already so terrifying? This was not the power of his 9-yang divine body, but the power of magnetism. Magnetism could suppress the 5 elements. The experts from the Yuan Magnetic Immortal Foundation were all stunned. How could this be their power? Damn it, could it be because of the old ancestor? The corpse of their magnetism quasi-emperor was in the hands of the other party. From the looks of it, it had already been studied by this kid. Lin Xian had indeed used the power of magnetism. He had the corpse of the magnetism quasi-emperor and the great dragon sword spirit. He used the great dragon sword soul to materialize the magnetic mountain. He actually possessed such power. Seeing that the combination of the 5 elements was being suppressed, Zhong Lingxiu frowned as well. With a wave of his sleeve, the elemental world disappeared, and he stood in the void again. Lin Xian retracted his palm, and the magnetic mountain also slowly disappeared. In this battle of the Great Tao, Lin Xian had the upper hand. This was great. The people of the Divine Union cheered. In the Purple Mansion, the people of the Thousand Dragon Dynasty had ugly expressions. On the other hand, the people of the Tao One sect were calm. They knew that the strength of the Tao physique was not limited to this. Sure enough, Zhong Lingxiu said. I also want to experience your 9-yang divine body. After experiencing the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation, she was ready to challenge the other party's divine body. Everyone was shocked. Was the born Tao physique going to display a super strong physique? They were not sure, but they soon realized that it was not the case. A ball of flame appeared in Zhong Lingxiu's hand, dancing fiercely. As soon as the flame appeared, it instantly pierced through the void. One could imagine how terrifying the power of this flame was. She wanted to challenge the 9-yang divine flame. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. An illusion of the sun appeared beside him, blooming continuously. The power of my 9-yang divine flame is very terrifying, Lin Xian said with a smile. Zhong Lingxiu said, how do you know if you don't try? As soon as she said that, other than the flame on her fingertip, there were also flames dancing on her other 9 fingers. The flame on each finger was different. The first flame that appeared was blue, as deep as the starry sky. Someone exclaimed, "Is this the legendary starry sky flame?" This was a very terrifying flame. It was rare in the depths of the universe. Who would have thought that the other party could find it? The fire Qilin also exclaimed, "Namingly fire. Fire of the sea hellfire. Fire of the 10,000 beasts." After the fire Qilin shouted out all kinds of flames, it was as if thunder resounded in the ears. The surrounding people were stunned. Every single one of these flames was extremely terrifying. But now, Zhong Lingxiu had gathered all 10 of them. Impossible. How did she do it? Burning Incense also kept shaking her head. She was also a flame expert, but she could not have obtained so many flames. The dog-headed Taoist widened his bell-like eyes. He bared his fangs and said, "No. These flames were condensed by her great Tao. These were her great Tao flames." What? Great Tao flames? A person's great Tao could evolve so many flames. Was this the born Taoism aptitude? As expected of one of the top 10 physiques in the starry sky, it was really strong. Chao Tianxing nodded and exclaimed. On the other side, Alcade's eyes also turned red after seeing this. This physique was definitely not weaker than the chaotic physique. Moreover, there were thousands of great Taos. It was very terrifying. Zhong Lingxiu's 10 fingers intertwined in the sky like jade. The top-tier flames were also dancing. They merged with each other and formed a lotus. A flame lotus bloomed quietly in Zhong Lingxiu's hand. "Lin Xian, you have to be careful," she said playfully. However, everyone's heart skipped a beat. Being hit by the lotus formed by 10 top-tier flames, even 10 lives would not be enough. Although Lin Xian's Nine-Yang divine physique was strong, could it really withstand it? Lin Xian's small face also became a little serious. He did not expect this guy to be able to condense so many flames. His Nine-Yang divine physique felt great pressure. However, he would not back down. Then I'll have to experience it. With a roar, Lin Xian pushed his Nine-Yang divine physique to the extreme. He seemed to have turned into a fire god. He took the lead to kill. The flames danced in the sky, turning into thousands of golden crows that roared in the sky. Zhong Lingxiu waved her hand, and the lotus formed by 10 top-tier flames flew over. Bloom. He shouted softly. Boom. Chapter 54:18. The lotus formed by 10 types of terrifying flames enveloped Lin Xian, letting out a terrifying roar. Everyone was stunned at this moment. They saw a figure attacking crazily in the flames. It was Lin Xian. Lin Xian's Nine-Yang divine body was pushed to the extreme. But the lotus formed by 10 types of flames was really terrifying. Even his divine body was injured at this moment. Many cracks appeared on his body, and blood flowed out. Heavens, Lin Wudi couldn't resist. Was he going to be defeated? Everyone exclaimed. Morong Qingqing and the others became nervous again. Zhong Lingxiu, on the other hand, had a confident smile. She was very confident in these 10 types of flames. Lin Xian's expression was solemn. The Nine-Yang divine body swept in all directions as he walked in the flames. Although his body was broken, he was still not afraid of these flames, which could temper his body. However, he knew that there was not much time and opportunity now. He had to break the other party's magic. If the Nine-Yang divine body couldn't do it, then he would add another magic. Lin Xian used the magic of the Great Earth Emperor, the Demon God Armor. This was an ultimate technique in the Devil Emperor's inheritance. The demonic qi on his body condensed into a black armor, covering his body. With this armor and the power of his body, his defense was much stronger than before. The 10 types of flames were blocked outside his body. At the same time, Lin Xian swept his hands and drew a sword qi, splitting the entire sea of flames. He walked out with a strong force. Everyone was shocked. Did he block it? The born Taoism aptitude was also surprised. They didn't expect that the 10 types of flames couldn't do anything to the other party. Lin Xian was extremely strong. He looked forward. Next, you will also have a taste of my attack. He drew a yin-yang image and threw it forward. The yin-yang sword qi turned into 2, and the yin-yang dragons circled between each other with endless power. At the same time, Lin Xian attacked again. He used the Devil Emperor's inheritance. The terrifying sword technique carried with it a monstrous demonic qi. It swept across the world like a divine light from beyond the sky. An invincible power was unleashed by him. Zhong Shenxiu's expression was solemn. Previously, this power defeated Chao Tiansheng, so he naturally didn't dare to be careless. Boom boom boom, she then unleashed other great Daos to contend with him. And the two of them fought from the sky to the ground. In the blink of an eye, 500 moves had passed. Lin Xian waved his hand, and the heavens battle diagram flew out, once again exploding with terrifying power. He forced Zhong Lingxiu out. Zhong Lingxiu frowned. She had felt the power of the firmament battle diagram before. It was terrifying. Now that she was facing it herself, it was truly terrifying. Her expression was solemn as she said in a deep voice, "Take my strongest great Dao. The Dao can be Dao." With a furious roar, the great Daos on his body began to intertwine, forming a mysterious rune in front of him. It was like a heavenly talisman. The aura on it was too terrifying. This was the Dao that could be Dao. It flew forward. Lin Xian did not dare to be careless. He exerted the firmament battle map to the extreme and slashed forward. This war map was like a divine sword. He slashed out. The power of the war map exploded completely and collided with Dao Ke Dao. A terrifying power swept out in all directions. Everyone was terrified. If they came into contact with a trace of this power, their bodies would be shattered. Not to mention completely resisting it. Boom. In the end, the firmament battle map was more terrifying. It blasted Dao Ke Dao away. The born Taoism aptitude also retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. She did not attack again. Instead, she said, "You have won this battle." "Thank you." Lin Xian cupped his fists and smiled. Everyone was stunned. Lin Wudi had defeated 3 experts in a row. Was he going to become the champion? At this moment, countless people exclaimed. The people of the Divine Union stood up excitedly. The people of the 10,000 Dragons Imperial Court and the Purple Mansion had ugly expressions. Damn it. They were unwilling to accept this. The people of Mount Eternal were also filled with murderous intent. Were they going to let their opponent become the champion? At this moment, Yao Guang stood up and shouted, "No, I haven't lost yet." What? Yao Guang was going to attack. The people of the Divine Union sneered. Impossible, he had no chance. The dark red divine dragon snorted coldly. He had already lost to Lin Xian, and he still wanted to fight? A loser. Lin Xian looked disdainfully at his opponent and sneered. "You. A loser like you is no match for me." Yao Guang was furious. "How dare you look down on me?" He took a step forward and the power in his body exploded. Chao Tianxing walked out and said, "You want to fight? Sure, let Lin Xian rest. We will fight after he recovers." Zhong Lingxiu also walked out and said, "Defeat me first. I will go first. You have just finished your battle. You two should rest first." Chao Tianxing walked out and looked at Lin Xian and Zhong Lingxiu. Then he turned to look at Yao Guang and said, "Defeat me and you will be qualified to continue." "Defeat you? Well, do you really think I can't do anything to you with your extreme speed?" Yao Guang sneered. At this moment he was full of confidence. This was because he had just devoured the power of the remaining spirit body. At this moment his physique had become extremely terrifying. He could already use the true chaotic body. This was also the reason why he dared to challenge Lin Xian again. Previously, he was defeated by Lin Xian, but now that he had a spirit body, he was absolutely not afraid of his opponent. He wanted to turn defeat into victory. Lin Xian said, "I will leave it to you." He had fought continuously and consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, he did not think that Yao Guang could defeat Chao Tiansheng. However, he still prepared to recover his strength first. On the other side, Zhong Lingxiu also sat down cross-legged. The two of them were recovering. The others were excited. Were there going to be another battle? Was this Yao Guang qualified to challenge Lin Xian? He had to defeat Chao Tiansheng. He also had the born Taoism aptitude. Otherwise, he was really not qualified. "Show me your strength. Otherwise, you can't beat me at all," Chao Tianxing said. He just stood there, unmoved. However, there was probably no attack that could hurt him. Yao Guang's face was cold. A terrifying chaotic aura erupted from his body. A terrifying pressure filled the air. Feeling this aura, Chao Tianxing frowned. The others were also in an uproar. What's going on? I feel that Yao Guang's physique is different. His chaotic aura has become stronger than before. In the midst of cultivation, Lin Xian also opened his eyes. He glanced ahead. His brows were tightly knitted. In the next moment, he formed a seal with his palms and sped up his recovery. The corners of Yao Guang's mouth curled up. Then he slapped out with his palm. The chaotic palm covered the sky and earth, directly attacking in front of him. Chao Tianxing stood there without moving, but it was just an afterimage. He dodged with extreme speed. However, it was not over. After the palm landed, the void suddenly split open as if it was splitting the sky and earth. A force enveloped Chao Tianxing. Chao Tianxing's pupils shrank. His figure flashed and he instantly dodged. However, his expression also changed. Although that person was no longer here, that person's weapon was left behind. Be careful of that weapon. When the time comes, it will come to you for revenge. Hearing this, the annihilating battle spear was stunned. Then he snorted coldly. He didn't do anything, but his face turned gloomier. It was obvious how powerful that person was back then. He had disappeared for tens of thousands of years, but no one dared to say anything bad about him. Light-shaking realm cultivators were simply too powerful. Their attacks were unstoppable. Chao Tianxing's attacks seemed to be unable to injure his opponent. A million punches flew out, but they were all blocked by the light-shaking realm cultivators. Yao Guang summoned a primal chaos stone tablet to block the trillion punch. At the same time, a heaven-splitting axe appeared in his hands. Chop. Not good. The power of this attack was really too strong. The primal chaos body was one of the top 10 strongest physiques in the universe. It was absolutely terrifying. As for the light-shaking realm, it was even more terrifying than Hun Tian. This was because not only did it possess the chaotic body, it had also devoured many other experts. His strength had already far surpassed Hun Tian's. Therefore, this attack was really too powerful. Chao Tianxing used light shadow to resist, but he was still forced back and spat out a mouthful of blood. The heaven-splitting axe was really powerful. Chao Tianxing was no match for it. The others also exclaimed. Light-shaking realm sneered. With the heaven-splitting axe in his hand, he said, "You're no match for me." He was really overjoyed. Now he had completely obtained the primal chaos body. His strength had more than doubled. So what if it was Lin Wudi? He could definitely trample him under his feet. He looked at Lin Xian again. However, at this moment, the born Dao aptitude walked out and said, "You haven't defeated me yet. You can only find him if you defeat me." She leaped into the air and charged over. 10 types of flames formed a flaming lotus and charged forward. Primal Chaos Fist. Light-shaking realm punched out with his left hand. Endless primal chaos, Qi carried a terrifying pressure. It was like a primal chaos dragon, rolling and shattering the flaming lotus. Zhong Lingxiu's arm went numb. Damn it, her strength hadn't fully recovered. Therefore, she was suppressed as soon as she came up. No, she had to buy some time for Lin Xian because she knew that even at her peak, it would be difficult for her to defeat him. Therefore, she could only rely on Lin Xian next. She took a deep breath and waved her palm. The 5 elements world flew out and circled around to interfere. He wanted to trap the other party. The 5 elements' power in the 5 elements world was very terrifying. It bombarded light-shaking realm's body as if it wanted to kill him. The primal chaos Qi on light-shaking realm's body formed 9 primal chaos heavenly tablets that suppressed everything. At the same time, he sneered. A mere world of laws wasn't a real world. I can even split a real world, let alone your world of laws. Break. As he said that, he held the heaven-splitting axe with both hands and swung it down. The water world in the 5 elements world was instantly broken, and he charged out. Another 2 axes fell, and the 5 elements world was completely shattered. Zhong Lingxiu retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face became incomparably pale. The other party had broken her 5 elements world so quickly. This heaven-splitting axe was too terrifying. There were also people from the Hundun tribe who came to watch the battle. At this moment, they were stunned when they saw this scene. They thought that their Hundun physique had been resurrected. However, when they came to their senses, they gritted their teeth. It was indeed the Hundun physique, but not Hundun physique. It had become the light-shaking realm. Damn it! If their highness had grown until now, he should have such power. It's impossible for us to kill him. We can only wait for the ancestor to return. Their ancestor was a quasi-emperor. So what if this light-shaking realm was strong when he returned? However, their ancestor was fighting with another sword immortal, and hadn't returned for a long time. They didn't know where the 2 quasi-emperors had gone. It wasn't just the Hundun tribe. At this moment, the emperor clans and remote antiquity clans were watching the battle in front of them with their mouths agape. The light-shaking realm was too strong. It even felt like it was undefeatable. Zhong Lingxiu attacked again, Dao perceivable. Terrifying runes merged with endless great Dao, radiating between heaven and earth. Yao Guang also shouted angrily, suppress. His figure also grew infinitely taller, like a giant who could split heaven and earth. The bloodline axe in his hand fell, and Dao perceivable dimmed. In the next moment, Zhong Lingxiu was sent flying. She knew that she had lost. As for the light-shaking realm, an extremely sharp light burst out from his eyes. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.